listening to the Baumbastic podcast with Andrew Ellis on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Baumbastic podcast presented by Inside Arkansas and hosted by the brilliantly talented Andrew Ellis. It is a Wednesday. We are here to watch some baseball. This is a live version, so appreciate all you guys for being here. And it is a watch party edition. Arkansas playing their final midweek game of this season. Tried to get in the first game of this series yesterday, but the weather had other plans. But Arkansas will conclude their midweek slate today against the Northwestern State Demons, who are famous for hosting a complete game by Andrew Ellis in 2016. Should be a fun game. Should be a nice little relaxing atmosphere. So appreciate you guys for being here. If you have not joined us for any of these, well, you're in luck because these watch parties have honestly been a bit of a disaster at times this year. We were live for the Arkansas State game, which Arkansas lost, the one that they got hammered. We were live for that game. We were live for the final 3 innings of the Georgia game a couple weeks ago, which you guys saw how that one ended. Arkansas ends up giving up 26 runs in that game. There was another game that we were live for, and I feel like it didn't go as poorly, but overall have not had a ton of success with the live watch parties. But if this is your first one time doing this, the idea, obviously we can't stream the game here, but we all watch the game on our own separate devices. I've got a laptop and a phone over here. You guys may have your TV, computer, phone, whatever, but we're going to watch the game together, react to it in real time. And, of course, you guys can get in on the action, comment, say whatever you want to say. We can talk about this game. We can talk about the season overall, why you hate this team, why you love this team. We can talk about basketball, football, Star Wars, whatever it is you guys want to talk about, we're down to do it. So appreciate you guys for being here. And it looks like we're just a few seconds away from first pitch. So excited to get this thing going. And hopefully we got some of our residential troublemakers here in the chat. I see my boy Austin Paul in here. I see L in here, a legend. Christian Holt. One of them, I'd say Christian Holt, one of the most supportive, optimistic Razorback baseball fans. Appreciate their commentary for sure. Always makes me feel a little bit better when I do a Baumbastic after a loss. I see Christian Holt being like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay. They'll turn it around." I'm like, you know what? Maybe they will. Like that. Love to see that. So let's see if we can break this little watch party curse, as Addison here in the chat says, and we'll see how this thing goes. Looks like we got some communication technical difficulties going on with Ryder Helfrich, which, by the way, they're wearing the pins. I don't know if my pin jersey, if it's clean or not, but I should have probably been decked out in my pin jersey to make sure this whole thing, to make sure the vibes are right here. Also, you may see this little, it has the lineup there right now. Once the game starts and gets going, that will then turn into a scoreboard. So if you're bouncing in and out, want to know what's going on, we can. Also, we're going to give updates to this game. So we will keep you updated the best we can. But if you are coming in and out, you can always just check the scoreboard and see what score is, what's going on. Eventually, that will turn over. So, all right, here we are. First pitch from Baum Stadium. Hope I'm not too ahead or behind of you guys. It looks like a strike from Tate McGuire. Little 91 on the outside edge, like that. This is our first chat we got to pull up here because our guy Vids from me says, hot take, not a fan of the pinstripe jersey. They should wear the creams way more often. I do love the creams. The creams are a very good look, and I think it should always be the Game 3 look for Arkansas, like the Sunday creams. It's just a thing. But I do like the pinstripes. All right, we got a ground ball to Camden Kojal, and he makes the play. Okay, 6-3 put out to get things going for Arkansas. One quick out. The last time, really, defense has been a real struggle. You could say Arkansas's 2 worst defensive games of the year have happened with us being live for one of these watch parties. So hopefully the defense is a little bit better. We're off to a nice start there. But I do like the pinstripe. I didn't like it the first year they did it when it had the Jeff Long font, and I like Jeff Long. I'm not trying to knock on him. I always just call it the Jeff Long font because I don't know what else to describe it as, and everyone knows what I'm saying when I say Jeff Long font. And in fact, I remember, so we had just started our partnership with Alumni Hall, and I remember us going there and kind of doing a show there, and they were like, hey, these are these brand new jerseys. Oh, looks like a double down the line, or it should be a double down the line for Northwestern State's 2-hole hitter. So it'll be 1 on, 1 out, 5 pitches into the game. But I remember seeing the pinstripe jersey with the Jeff Long font, and I remember thinking, I was like, I low-key hope that's not what it actually looks like, and that was what they did for the first year. But now that they've got the good font there, I think it's a good look. I think every baseball team, honestly, if you're a serious organization, should have you should at least have the option of pins. You don't have to wear them all the time. And Arkansas doesn't wear these all the time. They have kind of become the game 2 jersey, but it's not like they wear them every game or anything like that. Plus, I think the normal white uniform is a pretty good look. Let's see, hold on. I'm gonna let this pitch happen real quick. Hold on. Okay, ball 1. Shane here says, "Hey Andrew, imagine this lineup: 1 Billy Goat, 2 Slim Jesus, 3 Paolo, 4 Bowser, 5 Akizi." I don't know if I'm rocking with that, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, Billy Goat at the 1. I was a guy when they were running Billy as like the backup point guard a couple of years ago, his freshman year. I thought that was crazy because I like him on the wing, just kind of being able to roam a little bit. Not that he's a bad ball handler, but hey, you know what? Crazier things have happened. They would that lineup would be pretty solid defensively. Just swinging and miss there for Tate McGuire. I don't expect Tate McGuire, by the way, to go too long in this game. You know, he was supposed to start yesterday, and if he had thrown yesterday, it's a little bit easier, especially with a Friday through Sunday series. Oof. He just gave up a 2-run home run. So we're off to a rockin' start on another one of these things. Also, why is Stat Broadcast not updating? I don't know why Stat Broadcast appears to be down, but for those that do want a score update, it is now 2-0 Northwestern State. Tate McGuire gives up a Jimbo. And what's crazy, I was just about to say, they don't want to throw him too long because you might want to turn around and start him on the weekend. You know, might want to have him throw on that Sunday game, which, you know, I still think is a possibility. But obviously, if this outing doesn't go well, it's going to be a low likelihood that happens. Yeesh. Our guy, the boys here, he was telling me earlier, he said, if they fall behind early, I've got to shut it down real quick. Well, I can't do that. I mean, I could do it, but I mean, listen, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer together. And so, luckily, I mean, it's a Wednesday at 3:15 or whatever. So I don't think it's going to get too hostile here in the chat. And, you know, we'll see. Maybe Arkansas has to win this game 27-24. I mean, that's just how we have to do it. Yeah, Curse very much not on pace to be broken. He pimped that home run, by the way. That was a shot. All right, falls behind 2-0 to the next guy and then gives up a base hit to left field. Okay, good job by Ruiz getting it in. But, yeah, not going well for Mr. McGuire here so far. You know, Tate's very much a pitch-to-contact type of pitcher, not a huge swing-and-miss guy. But he's pitching to loud contact right now, not what you want to see. So Matt Hobbs comes out for a visit. Let's see. Samuel Brooks says, any updates from our friend Curtis? No, I need it. Matter of fact, while we're doing this, let me text him right now. He texted me earlier about not his medical stuff. And so I assume he wouldn't have texted me about other stuff if he were suffering. I don't think, my understanding is that what he was going to Little Rock for was not like a huge thing, like a thing he was super worried about. It was kind of just like a usual checkup. You know, he had some eye issues going back to a few years ago, and so he used to have to go to Little Rock a lot. This is one of those things where it's like they started spacing them out a little bit more to where now he has to just go for like checkups every now and then periodically. But let me check. I'll get a live reaction to whatever he texts me back at some point during this show. All right. So we'll see if Matt Hobbs has calmed him down effectively here. Ooh, I thought that was a strike. But okay, 1-1 count now. Let's see. Ooh, I see a super chat that I will get to between innings for sure. I promise, Solo. Don't go. Foul ball. Okay. Did y'all see that foul ball in the Padres game the other day when Mason Miller was on the mound, where it was rolling down the third baseline, and the third baseman like thought he was waiting for it to go foul, then picked it up, and then they called it fair, and everybody was freaking out about that on Twitter. Did anybody see that? Because I have a take. If y'all did, if y'all know what I'm talking about. And my take is everybody's freaking out for no reason, if I'm being honest. Man. Now, I think obviously if Arkansas loses this game, people are going to be freaking out. People are going to be mad and, understandably so to an extent. The reason why I thought it'd be like a good idea to go live is because I was like, man, this game really means nothing. Like obviously Arkansas could lose this game and then play well the next 3 weekends in SEC play and be perfectly fine. But I think also, it'd just be nice to get the morale shift, to get the vibes going back a little bit. We shall see. All righty, there's a punch out for Tate McGuire. Love to see that. A little slide piece, gets him swinging and missing. Tate's going to be an interesting one from a draft standpoint. I don't think he's going to be like the, a top prospect that teams are just, paying $1 million to or anything like that. But, Ben Bybee got drafted in the 9th round, I think. And I could see Tate going in a similar range. Now he doesn't have I think Bybee threw a little bit harder. Bybee would every now and then touch 95, 96. Already gets a ground ball to Nolan Souza. Okay. So we were through the top of the first inning. Arkansas down 2-0. But I do think Tate's going to be a guy that, throws 3 or 4 pitches, pretty consistent from a command standpoint. He's started, he's closed, he's done middle relief. I think he's going to be an interesting little draft prospect who's going to be a guy that I think Hog fans are going to be surprised when he gets drafted in like the 10th round, being like, oh, that guy got drafted, he stunk. But it's like, I think Tate's done well for himself here in this junior year. During, while we wait for the mid-inning break, do you want to get to this super chat here from Solo, who says, Andrew, we appreciate this chat, by the way. I'm pretty sure Solo's a college student, which anytime a college student gives you money, you're doing something right. Because when I was in college, I couldn't have afforded to give anybody money. So I appreciate it. But he says, Andrew, is there any update about when Carson Wiggins will return? So I don't have an official update for you, but every sign seems to be pointing to everything going business as usual. And I got to be honest with you. If you guys have been listening to the show, really going back to the offseason, the Arkansas side has been very consistent with their timeline. Like, they've been from the jump. I mean, Carson Brumbaugh almost a year ago was on this very show and was like, yeah, we'll hope we can get him back in May. And then the fall rolls around and Dave is like, yeah, he's not ready to go, but like, we hope we can get him back in May. And then, we get into the first few months of the season, right before the season starts. Dave said, yeah, he's throwing. He's not ready to go yet. We hope we can get him back in May. And then about a month ago, he goes to Swatters Club. Yeah, we think we can get him back in May. And so naturally, the calendar is about to turn over to May, and now everybody's like, all right, is he ready to go? And I think it really might be that simple. They've been saying May for a year. I think we're going to see him in May. Now, will that be this weekend, next weekend? I don't know, but I would be surprised, and I always knock on wood when I talk about Carson Wiggins. I would be surprised if we didn't see Carson Wiggins in either of these next 2 weekends at home. I think they're going to – and I would be surprised, honestly, if it wasn't in a weekend game. Like, obviously, I mean, this is the only midweek game left. I don't think he's going to throw in this game. I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was in a starting role. Now, a 1 to 2 inning starting role. But I think that would be the way they'd go about it, especially since what else are you going to do in game 3? I mean, really, as it stands right now, we can make our cases. None of us know who we want to start game 3. None of us know what they're going to do. Why not just go ahead and use him as an opener and then use Gackle and Fisher and McGuire and whoever to piece it together? I think that's, there are worse things you could do. And so I'm sure Dave will be asked about it after the game today, because I don't think he's doing a press conference leading up to the series. Like, I think today will be the only time. I would imagine today at the press conference, Dave will be asked, and he might just say, we're keeping that in-house. I'm not going to let you know. But they will put out an SEC availability report before the series. I think on that availability report, he will be listed as, I don't know, maybe questionable, maybe probable, maybe doubtful, but he won't be out if I had to guess. That's just my hunch. All righty, Carter Rutenbar's up at the plate. Anybody say anything crazy in the chat while I was gone? Oh, I saw my guy Kingsley, who's still fighting the good fight over there in Fort Worth. Says, since I've been at home recovering, these live streams have become one of my favorite things. Well, I appreciate that, Kingsley, because they have not been one of my favorite things, if I'm being 100% honest with you. They have not gone according to plan, if I'm just being 100% honest with you, especially these midweek ones. And, that just kind of comes with the territory of your team being kind of average so far, but it always does kind of bum me out a little bit. when the excitement that I feel and that a lot of you guys feel for Arkansas baseball doesn't get, it doesn't capture the casuals, because that was the entire purpose of the show called Calling All Casuals, was to invite casual fans in to come, be a part of Arkansas baseball, and did not exactly play out that way. All righty, Carter Rutenbar walked on 4 pitches there. Let's see what we got going on here. Let me see if I can fix this little score bug real quick. There we go. Does that look a little bit better? Yeah, even though it says middle of the 2nd inning, which is not happening. Or middle of the 1st. Okay, so we got Arkansas got a leadoff guy. The tying run is at the plate now in the form of Cam Kojal. Ball in the dirt. Did he advance? I don't know. Also, you guys let me know if I'm like way behind or if I'm way ahead. Just let me know. Let's see. So we got a little bit in the chat here. Yeah, the boys says if we go up 2-0 on Ole Miss, TBA will be Wiggins. I honestly don't think it's like, I don't think that like the results of the games are going to matter a ton. And honestly, like, I don't think Wiggins is going to, like, if he, regardless of what game he throws, it's going to be like 20 pitches, so it's not like going to be one of those things where like they're going to, and those 20 pitches I doubt would be in like a 5-4 game. I think they would be at the start of a game. I don't think they're going to like, if it's 1-1, I don't think they're going to be like, well, we can't throw them because this is a rubber match. I think it'll probably not end up mattering too much, and that's if they throw them at all this weekend. But I do think that's probably what's going to happen. Let's see what we got. What else we got going on? Our guy Peyton from Blue Ember says, Andrew, how frustrating is it for us to consistently start games down 2-0, 3-0? Yeah, I would definitely prefer they not do that. And it's definitely something they've done a lot of here lately. But, how it is with anything, like when you're down at 3-0 with Hunter Dietz and he just locks in right after that 3-0 deficit really doesn't mean too much. If you respond right away, it doesn't end up meaning too much. But I definitely would like for this offense to start getting going a little bit earlier. I like the late inning stuff. I like the rallies late in the games, but would definitely like to get going a little bit earlier. Oh, good question here from Gage. He says, Andrew, what position do you see Rutenbar playing long term? I'm inclined to say outfield. Now he's gotten some work behind the plate, catching in scrimmages and even some games this year. I think he caught a little bit in North Little Rock. Who knows? I don't know what next year's roster is going to look like. I assume that Arkansas is going to go out and get a portal catcher. Just kind of my guess based on the way that the roster lines up. I think they're going to want to go because catcher is not a position you really want to wing it at. So my guess is that Carter Rutenbar is not going to be the starting catcher next year. He's going to be in the lineup. Obviously, he's in the lineup this year. I think he's done a pretty good job in the outfield. He dropped that one ball against Missouri State in Springfield. It was a little bit of a tough play. He also looks better in right than he does in left. And you guys may have noticed anytime Arkansas has a guy that they're a little bit worried about in the outfield, they put him in right field rather than left field because it's just less ground to cover with the way that because the power alley there in right center field is shorter than it is in left field. So it's just less area. Not a ton of foul ground over there either. So they kind of are okay to put, Kendall Diggs played over there. Kahio Aloyas played over there. Heston Kerstad played over there. And he was a lot better in right field than left field. So I think right field is probably where he's going to, like, if I had to predict, we don't know what the roster is going to look like. I would guess that right field is where I would pencil Carter Rutenbar in to start next year. We shall see. We shall see. Samuel says, hey, what's your biggest series disappointment this year for the Pig? Mine is the UF sweep, the Florida sweep at home. Camden Kojal fouls off a 3-2 pitch. Yeah, the Florida series was tough, especially because that was kind of a moment in the season where I'm like, okay, it's been okay. You guys have been playing kind of average, but let's go ahead and kick it into gear here. So I think that would probably be the number one. But I got to be honest with you, dude. The past series, the series win that they just picked up against Missouri, when I look at it in totality, is really disappointing. Now, each game in and of itself, really not that crazy. Like, even the game they lost, like if you had told me that they were going to lose a game to Missouri, I would have not been thrilled about that, but I would have been like, okay, they lose a game to Missouri, but they probably beat them 14-1 in one of the other games, maybe beat them 8-2 in the other one. The fact that you played all three, and it's like you had a tooth and nail fight to the death victory in game one, 5-4, where you were down 3-0. Then you beat them pretty soundly in game two. That was a solid performance. And then I'm kind of, even after that game two performance, I'm thinking, all right, they're going to really lay the smackdown in game three. The fact that you lose that one, I feel like the Missouri performance was one of the worst, especially because, again, in a lot of these moments, you're kind of thinking, all right, this is going to be the time where they kind of get on a roll, where they kind of catch a groove a little bit. And then they just never seem to do. South Carolina series is a little bit of an underrated one, where obviously you win 22-6 game one, and you're like, oh yeah, and they fire the coach, and it's like, yeah, this will be easy. To not come out of that with a sweep is a little bit tough. Ooh, a little weird play there by the second baseman. So Cam Kojal grounds out. Rutenbar moves up to second base. It's a long AB there. Feel like we maybe got screwed on a call there, but no big deal. One of those 2-2 pitches, or 2-1, 3-1 pitches, I felt like was maybe out, but whatever. But yeah, honestly, man, there's the Stetson series was also a brutal one. The Stetson series was tough, especially because they win the first two, then lose the last two. Like, the way that played out was not a fun one. Also, Shane says, do I have to watch the game too, or can I just watch the pod? You can just watch the pod. We'll keep you updated the best we can. Unfortunately, the stat broadcast seems to be like malfunctioning a little bit, so it's stuck on 2-0 middle of the first inning, which I guess isn't the worst thing. I'll let you know if the score updates. You don't have to watch the game, but I feel like that would probably make more sense, having like the game up on the TV and this on the phone, or whatever you want to do. All good, man. Ooh. Stroke the Goat says, hey, Andrew, off topic, LOL. My wife and I are moving to Farmington this summer. Got any recommendations? So, Farmington, I love living in Farmington. It's honestly great because, one, you're like, you're not far away from anything. You're 4 minutes away from Fayetteville, like literally. So it's like not hard to get to MLK, not hard to get to Weddington, anywhere you got to go, unless you're going to like East Fayetteville, then you're kind of on the other side. But, kind of everything's right there by you. In terms of Farmington itself, I'm anyone that has listened for a while knows. Oof. So sorry, I got distracted here. A hard ground ball to short. Rutenbar goes to third, and the guy makes the play and goes to third with it. Honestly, not like the craziest decision by Rutenbar. I don't know. I couldn't see exactly. Let's see. Where was he at? We don't have a good view. Yeah, typically, like you're the runner at second base. Pretty much the rule of thumb is anything hit to your left, you go. Anything hit to your right, you stay. It was hit like right at him, and he just decided to go. Kind of ballsy for the guy to go to third with that one, but makes the play, gets the tag. Rutenbar, not the most fleet of foot. So that's out number 2 for Arkansas. Tough one. I think he probably thought that one was getting through, if I had to guess. But anyways, Ryder Elberg's at first base. Still 2-0, 2 outs. We'll see if Arkansas gets a run home. But in terms of Farmington, man, I would say Pizza Nirvana, underrated. Very underrated. If anybody knows Giraldi's in Fayetteville, I think that's the name of it. I'm pretty sure they're owned by the same people. So it's like pretty much a Giraldi's right there. Good pizza, Italian food, whatever. Good stuff there. You've also got, what's the name of the place that's got the big old fat cinnamon roll? Ooh. All righty, base hit to right field for Damian Ruiz. So Arkansas's got a couple on now. Is it Briar Rose Bakery? Briar Rose Bakery, I think. That's in Farmington. It's right there. They're a little bitty. And Nirvana and Briar Rose are right by each other. I like that little area a good bit. Cronuts, which is not just a Farmington thing, but I love going to that Cronuts there in Farmington. And then all your like normal fast food stuff. I go to that Sonic literally 4 days a week. That's not an exaggeration. And some weeks it's more than that, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, Farmington, it's a good little place, man. We'll treat you well here. The park is awesome too. Little park on Broyles, which is right. I mean, I live walking distance from that park, so I go there all the time. Nolan Souza hits a chopper, and they are not able to make the play. I don't know if they're going to rule that a hit or an error. Personally, I low-key think that's a hit. I think that would be a tough error because that was going to be a tough play. So Arkansas's got the bases loaded now. Still no runs. Surely they wouldn't just strand all three, man. Surely they wouldn't strand three of these runs, right? Let's see this, man. Ooh. Sam says, Ellis, if I told you that we'd be 11-10 in SEC play through 21 games preseason, how shocked would you be on a scale of 1 to 10? Probably like an 8. If you had told me kind of the way it played out, I might not have been like super stunned. Like I could kind of see it, but like I would have definitely been surprised to hear that they got swept by Florida at home. That's pretty disappointing. What else would have been? I mean, because I'm trying to think, like, what else was the big series? Like they lost a series to Georgia, but like that wasn't super stunning. I would have thought that they would have done a little bit better, especially in the home series. But yeah, I don't know. I probably 8 out of 10. I mean, I picked them to win freaking 20 SEC games, and they're gonna end up winning like 15. So I was pretty far off. I definitely don't want to be the dude who's like, no, I knew. I always hate when people do that. Oh yeah, I knew this team was gonna have some struggles. In fact, Dave did that. Dave was like, I kind of knew in the fall this team was gonna be a work in progress. I'm like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Let's see. All right, Micah News in a 2-1 count here. Looking to do some damage. Swings and misses through a slider. All righty, 2-2 count. Pitcher's up to 25 pitches in this inning. Guy's about 5'9", 150 on the bump. All righty, good take there from Micah New. This pitcher's from Zachary, Louisiana. When I was in high school, we played Zachary, and they had a catcher who went to Southeastern Louisiana, which is not like a huge school, but it's a D1 school, and they had a pretty good program at the time. Let's see. Ooh. No. Okay, fly out. Michael New flies out. Gets one in on the hands. Doesn't do much damage with it. Arkansas does strand 3. They're down 2-0 after the one inning, so everybody freak out commence now. But anyways, this catcher that Zachary had went to Southeastern, and I kid you not, in the moment, I was like, this is the best baseball player I've ever seen. He hit a home run against us that was still going up as it was going out, and then he ended up hitting like 210 at Zachary. It just kind of shows you the levels a little bit. But Arkansas's down 2-0 after one inning. Let's see. Why is Stat Broadcast just dead? I'm kind of counting on it. I mean, luckily the score is still 2-0, so it's not too big of a deal. And I was hoping it'd be like readily updating. But let's get in the chat, see what you guys are talking about. Ryan says, Andrew, we really need to kill the portal next year. Not a whole lot returning. Are we getting that Texas A&M football legacy at catcher? Can't remember his name. I believe you're talking about Javorsky Lane, who is the top player in Arkansas's freshman class. But you're 100% right. Arkansas definitely needs to kill it in the portal. And that's not like they better have a good team. It's like the way that Arkansas structures their roster, and we've talked about this on the show a lot, that, like this particular freshman class that Arkansas has right now, which is not doing great at the moment, if we're being honest with you, but this current freshman class that Arkansas has on campus, it's like a 24-person class, ranked top 5 in the country. You go back a couple years, that freshman class had Gackle, Helfrich, Dietz, Souza, Kojals wasn't in it initially, but like he's in that class. Kahio Aloy's in that class. Like it's a huge part of the roster is that class. Then they took a little bit of a year off where they only took about 12, 14 kids. Gibbler, Wiggins, Eves were kind of your top 3 guys. Didn't really, spend a ton of resources. The next year, they obviously last offseason went heavy on the portal. Brought in Logan Maxwell, Kahio, Kojal, Iredale, Thomas, Pepe, who at the time was a big deal. Davalon was a big deal. Root, Beidle, She's like they went all in with that portal class and kind of went soft on the freshman class. It's similar this offseason where, and in Arkansas's 2026 recruiting class, it's not a bad class. I think it's like ranked like 16th or 17th nationally, and there's only 12 dudes. So it's like per guy, it's pretty good. There's some pieces that are going to help. And certainly if they are able to get Jaworski to campus, which doesn't seem super likely at this stage, but if they get him to campus, like that's an impact dude right off the bat. A couple other guys that could be that, but they didn't, it's not 25 guys. So they're going to be, and you got a lot of guys exiting. They are prepared to go pretty heavy in the portal. And last year they crushed a lot of evaluations. This year was just kind of okay. They're going to need it to be a lot closer to last year's portal class than this past year's for sure. No Noggin, no Jin says Robinette back next year. I would assume, he's a redshirt junior, so I guess technically you get drafted, but I would probably say yes, the Robinette's back next year. And Gage is right. Definitely need some proven bats out of the portal. I mean, you really think about it. Like today's starting lineup, let me pull it up real quick and think about this for a second. Since Stat Broadcast isn't working, I'll just go ahead and pull up the lineup. Like Rutenbar, he'll be back. Kojal, he's gone. Helfrich, he's gone. Ruiz, TBD. He has an extra year of eligibility left. Maybe he's helped himself. Maybe he'll get drafted. We'll see. Souza, most likely going to get drafted. Micah New, he's a senior. He's gone. Cahillo, another one that's like kind of TBD. We'll see. Might have played his way out of the draft. Robinette, we just mentioned, maybe coming back. TJ Pompey likely getting drafted. So, like, coming back in the start of today's lineup alone, and Zach Stewart's not in it. He's also a senior. Just Rutenbar, Aloy, and Ruiz and Robinette. Those are the only guys that have a chance to come back. And it's not a guarantee that any of those guys do come back. That's not a lot out of your lineup. Now, obviously, hard hit ball to center. It'll get caught by Micah New. And you've got other guys in this freshman class. Brumball's a guy that they would like to get going for sure. So we'll see if they get him back. Brenton Clark is the guy that you guys have heard me talk about a lot. I really like him. I think he's going to be a starter in the outfield, believe it or not. I think he's going to be an underrated piece of the roster. But, like, we're talking 4 to 6 spots in the lineup that are going to need to be either freshmen or portal guys or guys that just come out of nowhere. Like maybe you just have Caden Mitchell just completely take off in the offseason or something like that. Who knows? Which did kind of happen last summer with Brenton Clark before he got hurt. But, yeah, they're going to need to do a lot of work in the portal, no doubt about that. Another hard hit ball to center field and another one that looks like it's going to stay in the park. Doesn't look like the ball's carrying too crazy today, which is nice because you know how it is with the Razorbacks. When that wind starts blowing, we shall see. We always like to blame that. All right, so 2 quick outs for McGuire, and it does look like Stat Broadcast is like trying to get back on track a little bit. Let me get back to game status here. Oh, ground ball to the left side, goes off the glove of Pompey. I think that'll probably be ruled a hit if I had to guess. Let's see what we got here. Of course, Stat Broadcast is behind still, so we won't find out in a minute. I don't know who's working the stats at the U of A today. Usually they're like too far ahead. Like there's been times where I don't pull, like if I'm on my laptop, I will like hide the tab of Stat Broadcast because it's so, in the minute. So if you're not at the venue, you'll get things spoiled for me. Y'all remember that A&M game where Cam Little missed the field goal? I got that spoiled for me because I was at home. I was at a buddy's wedding, so I was in my hometown, not in Arlington for that. And I was kind of writing a story and on Stat Broadcast, and I saw Cam Little misses 37-yard field goal, and I was like, oh my gosh. And like I got that spoiled before I saw it happen in real life. Not a fun experience. And usually when we're doing these watch parties, that's what happens is like that score will just update 4-0, and you're like, oh, you kind of already know what's happening. But today they're behind, so maybe that's good. Mm-hmm. So Tate's pitch count is like it's showing 31 on the broadcast. I maybe you go one more inning with him, maybe get him to up about 50, but I don't think he's going to go too much longer in this game, and I'm interested to see what Arkansas does. I imagine Big Tuna will probably throw a little bit. It's been a couple stolen bases where it looked like Arkansas was close but couldn't quite. Helfrich is such a good player, so well-rounded. And so I hate to nitpick and he has a very strong throwing arm. The accuracy of his throws leaves a lot to be desired. And I imagine as he gets, transitions to pro ball. Oh, great play by Kojal. Great play by Kojal. Ball hit to his right in shortstop, right over there by the third base bag. Had to make a really strong throw, planted, makes the play in time to a runner that seemed to be scooting it down the line. So Arkansas's out of the second inning. Still just a 2-0 game. But on Helfrich, he's made 6 throwing errors this year. That's a lot of throwing errors, and a lot of times you'll see when someone tries to steal on him, like he throws. I mean, the throw is there in plenty of time, but the throw's either over here where the guy's got to come and pull that tag. It's very rare that you will see Ryder Helfrich make a throw that's like right on the money, boom. And anytime he does, the guy's guaranteed out. Like if his throw is on target, out every single time. And he's thrown out, a fair share of guys this year, but pretty much every time he doesn't throw someone out, it's because the throw is not where it needs to be. It's either second baseman has to kind of pull over here a little bit, just something I've noticed. But we got a super chat from our guy Solo, who says, Andrew, your story the other day about your dad and cheering on the Hogs really hit home. I remember Chad Morris years. My dad splurged and got us season north end zone tickets, even though we sucked. We were still there. Yeah, man, those some humbling days, man. And when I was growing up, Arkansas, so I was in junior high during the Petrino years, which was awesome. I love those years, some of the best years of my life. That was the first time I got to really see Arkansas football be good. Now, I was in third grade for Darren McFadden's sophomore year where they did go to the SEC championship and all that. That was cool, and that was a huge year in terms of building my fandom, because I had a Darren McFadden poster. That was a peak time. But most of the years that I watched games growing up, all of my first ever game that I went to, not in Arkansas, was the Shreveport Independence Bowl in 2002. Matt Jones versus Brad Smith, and that was awesome. I was like, hell yeah, this is sick. It was very rare that Arkansas was actually good at football when I was growing up, even basketball too. I didn't see an NCAA basketball run. They didn't make the Sweet 16 in my lifetime. They didn't make the Sweet 16 until Muss. And I was in college at that point. So it's it was very rare that I was cheering on actually good Arkansas teams, which is unfortunate. Just kind of comes with the territory. But those stories that I was talking about with my dad, that was a big deal when I look back at shaping my worldview of hey, this is your thing that you love. This is the program you support. You don't waver on that ever. And like I spoke about on that show, it was a big deal of that separated me from my friends that were all in the state of Louisiana that were cheering on LSU is they would cheer when it was convenient to cheer. And they would always make fun of me because I'd be cheering on a losing team. But it's that was a huge part of who I was, my identity and my worldview. And so I love seeing that, man, that you had a similar thing with your dad. And it's just kind of like a rite of passage, man. I'm going to make my son sit through some stinkers as well. And we ain't leaving. We're going to sit there in the rain. Matter of fact, before in the bottom of the second's about to kick off, the 2008 LSU game, we were in Little Rock, and my youngest sister, she's older than me, but I have 3 sisters, all older. She's the youngest one. And me and her never saw eye to eye. Even still to this day, we don't see eye to eye. But I remember it was, raining. It was cold. We get down 30-14, and she's just complaining. We got to go home. Let's just go back to the hotel. Come on, let's get out of here. This sucks. Come on, they're losing. Let's just leave. And so when they came back and won, and it was the Miracle on Markham Part 2, oh, man, we got after her. We got after her bad, man. Those are fun times, man. Those are fun times. But appreciate the super chat, though, Solo, man, for real. All right. Kahio Aloy's up, and he's got a 2-0 count. See if we can get him on base. Oh, hits a fly ball to the danger zone, and it's going to get out of play. I like that. I would agree with this chat here from Silver Mugs. He says, the new storyline frustrates me. Wanted him to be my favorite pig this year. Every weekend I keep thinking he will come out of it, and then he just doesn't. Yeah, no, I would agree. That's a fair way to put it. If you want to talk about things that would have surprised me preseason, if you had told me that we'd be this deep in the season and he would only have 5 home runs, I'd have been like, no way. I mean, this dude hit 8 home runs in the Cape Cod League in 20 games. And that's kind of what burst him onto the scene as a prospect and made him one of the top portal guys. And the power just hasn't been there. And you guys know I don't really buy the whole sickness angle that has been plaguing this season. But I do know he is a guy that was diagnosed with strep throat for a while, and I think that really affected him in the middle of SEC play. Because if you look at his game log, there's a stretch where he just went 3 weeks without a hit, and that was right around when he was battling that a little bit. We'll see, man. We'll see if he's able to get going here down the stretch. But yeah, if there are a lot of variables on this team of guys that are kind of boom or bust, as we know. Pompey's like that, Sousa's like that, Aloy's like that, Micah News like that, Stewart's like that a little bit, to where if Arkansas doesn't reach all their end goals, we'll be able to look back and be like, well, we know why. It was this. All right, Kahio Aloy takes a walk. How about that patience from Mr. Kahio? Love that. Love that. All righty. The boy says, Andrew, do you play Diamond Dynasty? I haven't in a while. There was a year where I was really into it and was playing a lot. I do play the show a decent amount. I've actually I haven't even bought the new one yet because I got a franchise going with the old one, and I'm focused in on that. But no, I don't play Diamond Dynasty too much. I don't play online. When I game, it's few and far between, and I'm not good enough. I get nervous playing against other people who play more than me and stuff. And I'm sure I think Diamond Dynasty does kind of level out the experience and all that. But I have not sat down and really locked in to where I could build it up. But I've been playing the other game, the last year's game, in preparation for buying the new one. I think I'll wait till Arkansas baseball season is over. Then I'll get the new one, hit a little grow to glory, attend the University of Arkansas, all that fun stuff. I used to always get Arkansas's uniforms in my Diamond Dynasty, though, for sure. It'd take me an hour to put it all together. Okay, Big Country's up 3-0. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So Arkansas's got a couple walks to start the second inning. You just have to score a run here, You don't have to, but it's it'd be really disappointing to have strand 3 in the first and then get first and second, nobody out in the second, and not have any runs. Man. Yeah, been a rough go of it. And by the way, this is a new pitcher on the mound for Northwestern State, so I guess they're just Johnny Holstaff in this thing. Not been a lot of strikes coming out of the Demons. David says, do you think Nate just learned what a bunt was this year? No, I think he knew what it was. I don't think he's a huge fan of it. And honestly, with how bad Arkansas is at it, man, I'm not a huge fan of it. They bunted a fair amount last year. Not a crazy amount, but I think Arkansas was maybe 7th in the league last year in bunts or something like that. They will do it. They'll do it in certain situations. If it's 3-3 and they're in the 8th inning and they get a runner on, they will call sacrifice bunt. Personally, and I know I'm in the minority on this, I think Arkansas bunts the exact right amount where you do it in a situation where you need it, but it's not a thing you do. As I say that, TJ Pompey's squaring around a bunt. We'll see if he can get one down. We'll see if he can get it down. I don't like it here when the dude can't throw a strike. I would not want to give them an out when the dude can't seem to get one. But when you got your 9-hole hitter, I guess. He bunts one foul here. What I hate is when you're doing a sacrifice bunt, go ahead and get that sucker out there. We don't have to do this song and dance of you trying to sneak one over. They pull it around so late, almost like they're trying to do the cat. They don't want that infielder crashing in on them. But here's the thing. No matter what bunt coverage the defense is running, they're giving you something. So if the first baseman crashes, you want to know what we do? We move the bat a little bit, and we bunt it down the third baseline like he's doing. If the third baseman crashes, we pull it back. That's the beauty thing about bunting. Wherever you hold the bat, that's where the bunt's going to go. If you hold it like this, it's going to go that way. If you hold it like this, it's going to go that way. It really isn't rocket science. And yeah, I have watched them do it. I've watched them work on it. I mean, when they're doing BP, they have a machine back there and they're practicing the bunting. But man, it's just not really something they enjoy doing, not really something they're big on doing. And they were in a great position in this inning until they started trying to do this godforsaken bunt. I see Lindsay says, listen to Andrew actually teach me more about baseball. I have so many stupid questions I'm afraid to ask. No, Lindsay, please ask them, because that was the whole premise. When I started doing the midweek live streams called Calling All Casuals, that was my goal, was that people, whether you're just the most casual, watch one game a year, you could come in and like get caught up to speed. So if you have a question about anything about like the rules or just anything with baseball or anything with the program of like, hey, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? I'm here for you. So that's what we're looking to do here. So don't be afraid to ask. And also, because I know this happens sometimes, chat, if people do ask stupid questions, just relax. Just let them do their thing. Don't shame them. We've now got a 3-2 count on Mr. Pompey, by the way. Hits a fly ball. Oh, ended up getting pretty deep there, so that'll get the runner to third. Okay, so you got first and third, one out. I guess I'll take it. I guess I'll take that one. Ooh, great question here from Addison. If you could pick one bat in the lineup to pop off right now and provide a spark to the offense, who would it be? Honestly, I think it would be Mr. Kahio Eloy, who they have on the screen right now. I think it would be Kahio because the ceiling is very high for that dude. I mean, he drove in 70 freaking runs last year. 70 runs, and that's part of why, like, when he struggled and they, because they, obviously the staff at Arkansas has been fed up with Kahio. Like, that's not a secret. We as the fan base have been fed up with Kahio at times, but amid all of that, you guys have heard me on the show say, I just don't see how you can abandon someone who has that much potential. And there's a lot of guys that have potential. TJ Pompey has as much potential as anyone in the lineup. Micah New is a guy that can definitely get hot. There's a lot of candidates. But I feel like Kahio Eloy, that's the type of guy that can just drive in 6 runs in one single game, and I want to see that power get going a little bit. He's only got 5 home runs this year as well. I would love to see him get on a little bit of a heater. And then the more that he hits, the more teams will pitch around him. And hopefully he will continue to take walks like he did in this inning. And that's something I think Arkansas doesn't have a ton of power right now, and they don't draw enough walks. I feel like Kahio could help you in both of those categories, honestly. I mean, the fact that he's hitting 8th in this lineup is honestly crazy. And not like a crazy decision by Dave. It's just like, it's crazy that the season has played out this way. And then I see L says, is Kahio on the transfer watch list? I don't believe so. Now, I know that they've been, obviously it's been contentious at times. I wouldn't think so still. One, because, it's like, the Eloy family, they basically live here. They've uprooted and come to Fayetteville. So I can't imagine they're dying to leave. And also it's what better opportunity is there going to be? Now, I'm sure somebody, if he entered the portal today, Kahio would be one of the more coveted transfer portal guys, no doubt about it. I'm sure somebody would give him a fat stack. I feel like he's got a very good opportunity here. They've also given him chances to play outfield, which I don't think everybody would give him that opportunity. So I think that has to matter a little bit. But no, I don't think. Listen, who knows? We'll see. Because I know that Dave has been frustrated with him at times. Oof. I thought Carter Rutenbar just struck out on a 2-2 pitch that froze him a little bit, but pitcher doesn't get the call. Zone seems a little tight today. 3-2 count, runners on the corners, 1 out. Whew. Okay, and Rutenbar ends up hitting a fly ball to center field. This should get Kahio home. And it does. Okay, so Arkansas's on the board. You get a run. You get a couple fly balls. We'll take it. But okay, Lindsay wants to know, she doesn't know the rules about pinch hitters and pinch runners. Why do they have them? Is there a limit to the number of pinch hitters or pinch runners you can put in? So there's not a limit to it, but the limit is how many people are on your roster. The reason they don't do it every single inning. Now, if you go to like a high school game, when I was in high school, you could get a courtesy runner for the pitcher or the catcher. And so if you go to games like, at different levels, different rules, they'll do stuff like that where it's like, oh yeah, you can pick someone to run for your catcher and it's fine and keep them in the game. The reason you don't do it all the time is because if you're putting someone into pinch run, they now fill that spot in the lineup. So usually the times that you do go to a pinch runner is late in the game where you're assuming, hey, we're down by 3 runs. I'm going to put a pinch runner in, assuming this is the final inning. And if it's not, that means we've tied the game and we're good. But the reason you do it is let's say you're down 3-2 with 2 outs and someone works, like say Kahio Aloy draws a walk. Well, you would go ahead. Oh, Cam Kojal with a base hit to center field. Like to see that. Oh, center fielder. Oh, wow. Center fielder dove. I thought it was just a normal base hit center field. Center fielder dives for it, ends up second and third. Robinette didn't quite score, but second and third, 2 outs. Love to see that. But okay, Lindsay, let's say it's 3-2. You're down 3-2 in the 9th inning, and there's 2 outs, and Kahio Aloy draws a walk. Well, if he's at first base and he's not a great base runner, you might want to get someone fast in there because a double in the gap, that runner could score from first. That might be the difference in the game. And so you'll pinch run in a specific situation like that. They won't just do that in the middle of this game. They're not just going to say, oh, Big Country's, big guy. We don't want him running, so we're just going to pinch run for him, because then whoever's pinch running for him has to fill that spot for the entire game. So it's always very specific situations. And so it really just as simple as let's get someone faster in here for this specific thing here because we're trying to score that run. But no, I don't think there's any limit. It's just you just very rarely do it because you don't want to take that guy out of the lineup completely in case that spot comes back later in the game. And what's funny is catcher is usually a position you would pinch run for, but Ryder Helfrich's a freak athlete. And so he's like the 4th fastest player on the team. So they're never going to be pinch running for Ryder Helfrich. But yeah, Zach Stewart, prime pinch run candidate. And by the way, if it's a DH, it's a little bit easier to do it, especially, because if another spot, let's say it's the 6th inning and you pinch run for Zach Stewart, who's playing DH, well, that's not that big of a deal because it's not like you have to send whoever to, they put Landon Schaefer, who's a freshman who doesn't really play. They put him in to pinch run for Zach Stewart. It's not like he has to go play the field because he's the DH. So then if that spot comes back in the lineup, they can just pinch hit for Schaefer or whoever. And so there's different things you can do. And honestly, this conversation we're having, this is what I love. When we get into the weird weeds of it and it's late in the game and you're having to make some of these decisions of all right, do I take my DH out of the game? Is that worth it here? As Ryder Helfrich strikes out, Arkansas strands a couple in scoring positions. Arkansas down 2-1 after 2 innings, and they have stranded 5 base runners. Love to see it. Love to see it. Shout out to YouTube can ESAD. I wonder what ESAD stands for. I don't know, but he says just dropped in to show love, respect, appreciate your work, Andrew. Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. We've had good participation in the chat today. I like that. And then David says DH used to not exist as well. Those were the good old days. Were they the good old days? Were they the good old days? I was always on the I remember when I was a kid and it was, AL would have the DH and the NL wouldn't. I'm just like, how is this a thing? That existed up until 3 years ago. It was unbelievable. If you're a pitcher in the National League, you just get to pitch to another pitcher 3 times a game. That's awesome. That helps you as a pitcher. That's the best thing ever. I don't know, man. Those are not the good old days. But I would love watching Carlos Zambrano. Y'all remember Carlos Zambrano, one of the craziest dudes to ever step foot on a baseball field? He could swing it a little bit though, and he would always deny trades to AL teams because he never wanted to go to a team that had a DH. He was like, I never want to do that. I always want to be able to swing it a little bit. I like that. All right, so we head to the third inning. Let's see if Arkansas – Colin Fisher is now going to be in the game. Spoiler alert. When they come back from commercial, you're going to see Big Tuna on the mound. Oh, there's dogs. I haven't been on Twitter because we've obviously been doing this, but y'all been seeing any good dog pics of Bark at the Park? Y'all like that? I'm glad they were able to do it because obviously yesterday didn't work out. I'm seeing a good amount of canines out there. Old Tuna, man. Is Tuna a midweek Hall of Famer? Like, I think if we look back at his career, like he'll leave Arkansas and you'll look at his numbers and say, okay, those are his numbers. But if you only look at midweeks and just ignore SEC play, ignore weekends, everything, Big Tuna is putting together a mid that I don't think we'll see at the University of Arkansas ever again. Ben Bybee did have a lot of quality midweek service for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And I really am not trying to put these guys down because, again, you can get drafted off midweeks. I've seen it. I've seen it happen with my eyes. In fact, my fun fact, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I used to have back in the day before gambling was actually legal, and we had these great sites like Bet SARACEN, I used to have an actual bookie who used to pitch at LSU, and he got drafted. He threw 7 innings in his junior year at LSU, threw 98 but could not throw a strike, and he got drafted off midweeks because he would come in and throw 1 inning in a midweek and touch 98, be useless on the weekend, but he got drafted, used his entire signing bonus at the casino, and then became a bookie. The more you know. The more you know. Silver Mug says we have a no fish diet on the weekends. Well, what's tough is I thought he pitched better out of the bullpen a little bit, which is kind of weird because you think about his skill set, he makes sense as a starter. I mean, throws 4 pitches, throws strikes for the most part. His stuff doesn't really get worse throughout the game. Kind of he'll throw 91 in the first inning, he'll throw 91 in the 6th inning, but it just wasn't working in a starting role. Oh, that ball gets through. Leadoff base hit against Colin Fisher. But yeah, I thought he was pretty good against Alabama, serviceable. And in the Georgia game, I thought he had some tough luck a little bit. But then, man, yeah, they gave him another start. It just didn't work out. I think they can use him on the weekends, but it's got to be a very specific situation. You just need him to come in and face one lefty. I don't know. This is a good time to bring this up because Austin says, I'm trying to learn the game. I've never played. I am completely clueless on what bunting is used for. Is it like a sacrifice fly where you're just trying to get base runners in scoring position? Yes. In short, yes. Occasionally, you have guys that are fast enough. Arkansas has actually had a few of these guys over the years that they call it drag bunting. If you're trying to actually bunt for a hit, if there's nobody on, for example, when left-handed hitters come up to the plate, if you're ever at the games, teams do these crazy shifts where they'll move the entire infield over to one side. Sometimes you'll have a left-handed hitter who sees that and is like, you know what? I can get a bunt down that third base line. I'll give you one. Dominic Fletcher, one of the coolest Razorbacks to ever grace this beautiful campus. He was so good at that because he was a good left-handed hitter, liked to pull the ball, had a lot of power. Teams would shift like crazy on him. He would just poke a bunt 8 feet. And, he's a pretty good base runner too, so he would just get on easily. But for the most part, yeah, it's basically – hey, we got a guy on first. We're going to go ahead and bunt. We're going to trade an out to move him up so that all it takes is one base hit to get him in. To get him in. I'm not a huge fan of that. I am a huge fan of getting someone to third base with less than 2 outs because if you get someone to third base with less than 2 outs, you can score a run without a hit, which I know sounds like a very simple premise, but that's why you would do it. So I guess it was the 2nd inning that Arkansas had first and second, nobody out. They went ahead and bunted or tried to bunt. It ended up being a sacrifice fly or a fly ball to right field, but so that they could get those guys a second and third to where we don't even need to get a hit and we can score a run. The reason I don't like doing it from first base to second base is because you still need a hit to score that run. And I'm like, why would you give them an out when we've got guys that can hit the ball over the fence? They hit it over the fence. I don't care what, I don't care who's on base. It doesn't, we're all good. But But yes, in short, yeah, it's basically just trying to move guys into scoring position, which is why I was saying earlier, like, I think it should be like purely situational where it's like close game, 1-run game. Over the course of the big picture of a season, I really don't think like I don't think giving your opponent outs is a smart way to make a living in baseball personally. Because I just feel like, again, you've got guys on your team that can hit home runs, that can hit doubles, that can work walks, where if you work a walk, that's the same result as a bunt, but without the out. You know what I mean? And so it's like and not to mention you're making the pitcher throw pitches. You're making him execute. You're making him work. That's why personally, like, people that want Arkansas to like bunt all the time, I think that's like insane, honestly. But I think it's something you need to have in your back pocket just to kind of, and plus some teams suck in the field. Sometimes you just want to say, hey, let's make this third baseman field a ball. Sometimes it can be that simple, but I always kind of push against it being like a real thing that you do consistently. Oof. Almost a beautiful double play there by Arkansas. Good play by Pompey on the dive. Ooh, David wants to know. We're getting into the opposite of bunting right here, because David wants to know, I got a question, Andrew. I never understood what the hell a slugging percentage was and why it matters. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly. So it's slugging percentage in short is basically like it's how many bases you're, so if you're hitting home runs consistently, like if you and I both hit 2 hits, but you had 2 singles and I had 2 doubles, well, my slugging percentage would be 2.00. Yours would be 1.00. So it's like slugging percentage accounts for when you're getting hits. Are they singles, doubles, triples, whatever? And so over the course of the season, slugging definitely, like, if you're a guy that's hitting for power, your slugging is going to be way up there. I'm going to pull up Arkansas's numbers real quick. Which, by the way, this is a time to remind you guys that TJ Pompey, you want to know why TJ Pompey's in the lineup? He's slugging 531, which, I'd say the standard for a hitter, if your OPS, which is your on base plus slugging, if your OPS is over 800, you are helping your team win games. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. You look at a guy like TJ Pompey, batting average 262, not great, but his on base percentage is 345, which is, okay, slightly below average, but his slugging percentage is 531. He's got 10 home runs. That you add that up, that's a dude that's driving in runs, that's actually contributing to winning. There's a lot of guys that have high batting averages that don't have any extra base hits, and so their slugging percentage is way lower. Those are the guys that, like, the nerds like me will point to and say, I know that guy's hitting 295 and you think that's awesome. He's really not, like, you're not actually contributing to runs, and so that's why I think batting average can be a little bit overrated, where it's like you get a guy that, there's 2. Well, okay, what did that do for us? Now we've got to have 2 more hits just to get you in, or we've got to, have something weird happen our way, as Pompey makes a nice play there. So Colin Fisher gets through the 3rd inning unscathed. Love to see that. But yeah, if you go look at like the top team slugging percentages in the country, all of them are way, like, those are the best teams in the country. Like, I guarantee you Georgia has a really good slugging percentage. I would venture to guess A&M way up there in slugging percentage. Like, the best teams in the country are the ones that can slug it a little bit. Like, I'm trying to see if I can find an example of this. So, honestly, Nolan Souza has done a pretty good job for Arkansas this year overall. I mean, he has a higher batting average than TJ Pompey. He's hitting 270, but he's slugging 386. He only has 2 home runs, does have 12 doubles, but, like, really isn't a super impactful bat for Arkansas. Slugging is like it's very important. Now, it's not the end all be all. We would obviously rather runs than anything else, but in a big sample size, it's really hard to have a good slugging percentage and suck, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, Peyton says Nick Mingione enters the chat when talking small ball, which is Mingione, that's the Kentucky coach, right? Kentucky, they love small ball. They always lead the league in bunts. And it always helps them beat someone they shouldn't beat, because you just play the right team and they're not able to field them a little bit. But it also never makes them a threat to win anything. Just one of those things. So, all right, we're now in the bottom of the third inning. It's 2-1 still. The dogs are still out, having some good fun out here. Always like that. Silver says, Kentucky loves everything small. Small ball, small recruiting classes, small all-star transfer classes. Yeah, I like that. Jay Boger says, Gabe looked great out of the pen last weekend against Missouri. Does DVH give him another shot as a Sunday starter with no other guys stepping up? I think it's possible, and honestly, I would be fine with that personally. What I think is, if I were a betting man and wanted to make a prediction, I would say that Carson Wiggins starts Sunday, throws 1 to 2 innings, and then Gabe comes in right after him to be like the long relief guy that kind of pieces it together, kind of like they did with Will McIntyre and Brady Tigert back in the day. So I think that makes sense. By the way, we were talking earlier because Nolan Souza had that weird ground ball through the left side, and I was like, is that going to be a single, an error? They did give him a single. So good for him. Also another new arm. No, not a new arm. Same guy, lefty. Am I right? Is this the same guy? Yeah, same guy. Okay. Man. I really hope Souza's able to, and we were talking about earlier about guys that I would love to see get hot down the stretch. Souza's definitely one of those, because I think if Souza got hot down the stretch, that might make the difference between him being like an 8th round pick as like a projectable take a flyer on this guy, to where if he gets hot down the stretch, I wouldn't be stunned if that dude was like a 3rd round pick, genuinely. Because he's so talented. Left-handed, can play like 7 different positions, fast, strong. And yes, Gage, you are 100% right. Souza's another guy that's been hitting a lot of ground balls. Very much so. I don't know where the power went. This dude hit 7 home runs in like 25 games as a freshman. He hit balls 450 feet. Opposite field, like he was driving the baseball. I don't know if it's just, coming back from the shoulder, if maybe he just hadn't felt great, or if it's something in the swing, and maybe it's just kind of the way it's played out. But, only 2 home runs. I would have been very surprised if you had told me that preseason. And he's gotten on base a decent amount, but just not really driving the ball and driving in runs. Yeah. It's just one of them days, I guess. Just one of them days. Is Micah News up here? Micah New, chopper to the shortstop. 3 up, 3 down. I think that's the first time that's happened today for anybody, right, on either side. So, okay, we head to the 4th inning. We are cruising here, boys. We're having a great time. Seriously, appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been cool. And while we wait between innings, I want to give a quick shout-out to OZK Insurance. Are you tired of juggling insurance companies just to find the right coverage? Well, at OZK and Insurance and Rogers, they make insurance simple again. As a 100% independent agency, they shop the entire marketplace to deliver the best combination of cost and coverage, saving you both time and money. Whether it's home, auto, boat, motorcycle, life, or commercial insurance, their friendly team has access to a wide range of flexible options designed just for you. They serve Northwest and Central Arkansas, including Bentonville, Centerton, Fayetteville, Little Rock, Hot Springs, Springdale, and beyond. Let OZK Insurance be the trusted advisor you never knew you needed. You can check out their app in the Google Play or App Store, or you can start today with a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. OZK Insurance, protection made simple. John Pigman says he met Curtis at the gas station this morning. Good to see that. Where was he? Was this in Fayetteville? Was this in Little Rock? Because I know he was traveling south a little bit. Now, you don't need to air it out completely, but that's good to see. Curtis is a good guy to run into. Pleasant vibes. By the way, let's see. It was the Maverick in Fayetteville. Which one? No, I actually don't say that. There are a lot of them. Which, by the way, are y'all pro it being called Maverick? Because I'm not, if I'm being honest with you. When I was growing up, I could not believe that they had a gas station called Come and Go. I thought that was crazy. Yeah, I always got a kick out of it when I was a child. I wonder what led to the change. Also, Colin Fisher went ahead and just and beaned the first guy he saw. David says he has a Come and Go hoodie. Well, that's a collector's item now, man. You better hold on to that. That's big time stuff. You know what's crazy? Last year when we were in Omaha, 6-4-3 double play. Love to see that. Love to see that. When we were in Omaha last year, it was like a couple months after the Maverick shift happened. And there was a Come and Go in Omaha, and it was like the last one left that was still called Come and Go. I don't know what happened or if they just didn't get the corporate memo, but there was one right by where we were staying where we could get us a nice little iced honey bun. It was great. It was great. It's good stuff. They're showing the Northwestern State coaching tree. Yeah, so when I want to say Dave's youngest daughter, who is my age, by the way, she was born while he was in Natchitoches in the good old state of Louisiana. And so I know it holds a special place in his heart. And that's where, what was that Texas A&M coach? Someone in the chat needs to help me out. The guy that used to be Dave's pitching coach that then went on to be the Texas A&M head coach, Rob Childress is his name. That guy, I want to say he was on staff for Dave at Northwestern State, as well as Lane Burroughs, who's now the head coach at Louisiana Tech and doing a pretty good job for the most part. Field's an absolute dump over there, if I'm being honest with you. As someone who threw a complete game on that field, I can confirm, absolute dump. I cannot believe that is a Division I college baseball field. It's turf, but it's like patchy turf. There's about 400 seats there, maybe. It looks like it's like a decent, like if you were playing like a 14U travel ball tournament, it seems like if this would be an okay field. You'd be like, it's a pretty cool field. But for like D1 baseball, it's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure. By the way, a line drive ended up getting just over the glove of Cam Kojal over there at shortstop. Vahiva would have made the play. Not because he's just way better, but he's just taller. Definitely would have made that one. Okay. Ground ball back to Colin Fisher. He makes the play. So now we're headed to the bottom of the fourth. We're back on track here. National championship. We're back. Good stuff. David here wants to know, was Robert Moore undervalued when he was here from fans? Legit one of my favorite players. So it would depend on who you asked, because honestly, there was a stretch where I feel like Robert Moore may have been overrated a little bit, where, he had all this like Bob Moore ball player, Bobby baseball, and people were comparing him to Benintendi after his first few games, and it was kind of like he was like this phenomenon. And then he was really good as a sophomore, but even his sophomore year where I think he had like 16 home runs and like hit 284 or something like that, had a great year. He beat up on bad competition. And so I felt like he was overrated during that season a little bit, but during his junior year where his numbers kind of came back down to earth, people were obviously like really pissed and, oh crap, why is he only hitting 250? What's going on here? I felt like he became underrated then. So depending on the time frame and who you ask, because obviously fans have different opinions. I mean, there are truly fans who will tell you that Vahiva Aloy was not the man. Like, genuinely. There are fans out there, not many, but there are fans out there who will tell you Vahiva Aloy was not the coolest dude in the world. So it's like, every fan kind of has their opinion, but I would say, yeah, definitely during his junior year, there was definitely some people that were knocking him a little bit. I mean, I think there were definitely some people that were surprised, because he got drafted in like the second, third round, maybe late second. And yeah, he's for my money, the best second baseman defensively Arkansas has ever had. And I think him and Jalen Battles, I feel pretty confident in saying Arkansas will never have a middle infield as good as those dudes, man. Like, they were pros out there for sure. Yeah. And did y'all know his dad was the GM of the Royals, which now I think he's in the Rangers organization, maybe. And by the way, we've had Robert Moore on the podcast. So when you get done with this, go check out that Robert Moore interview on the Baumbastic podcast. Ooh, Arkansas says, I can't say that when we had Logan Forsythe at second. Forsythe was the man. Forsythe also was my hitting instructor when I attended Razorback hitting camp when I was 12 years old. So, I certainly won't argue too much. Yeah, Forsythe was a better player overall for sure. But in terms of just straight up defense, I think I would take Bob, honestly. But Forsythe was absolutely the man. Absolutely the man. Silver Mug says the weirdest part of that podcast is when you asked him if that group stayed in touch, and he was just like, no. Yeah, I think it was Battles specifically that I was like, dude, I was like, so like you and Jalen Battles, like, do y'all just talk about it all the time? And he's like, no. He's like, I'll see him if like I happen to be in the same room as him, I'll talk to him, but like, no. Which not like I don't care. These guys don't have to hang out, but I definitely thought I was gonna get like some people I feel like would lie in that situation and just be like, yeah, I talk to him all the time. But he was like, yeah, no, never talked to him. Good swing there from Kahio Aloy. Little oppo work. I didn't get a good look. Was it a breaking ball? I feel like it was. We'll get another look at this knock here. But Arkansas's got another leadoff guy on. Kahio Aloy scored the other run, right? Had the leadoff walk and then wound up coming around to score. So it's Kahio Aloy day at the yard, apparently. Let's see. Engage says, will Robert Moore ever make to the big leagues? I would say yes. Well, he's in AAA like right now. I haven't looked lately at what he's doing, but I mean, like, if you're in AAA, even if you suck, like, you're one guy getting hurt away from being right there. It doesn't look like he's on the 40-man roster. I mean, he's hitting 250 this year, slugging 611 though. He's got 4 home runs. So like, yeah, he's swinging it well at the AAA level right now. So and he's still young. He's like 23, 24. I would say, yeah, he's probably going to make it to the big leagues. Even Battles I think actually might be done now, but Battles was a guy that I thought would one day just have a cup of coffee up there because of how good he was defensively and can play shortstop. But I think Bob Moore in the next 18 months will probably make his big league debut if I had to guess. And then David says, I'm surprised Hagan hadn't gotten the call yet. Yeah, I saw him last night. I guess yesterday he threw 4 innings, 6 strikeouts. I think his numbers in AAA are pretty good so far. He hasn't been throwing like extended outings. Like last night he threw 4 innings. I think that was a season high for him. He's only thrown like 20 innings so far this year, but he's been the stuff has been really good, getting a lot of swings and misses. He had a good fall too. I think him not getting the call is going to be more because the White Sox suck. And so it's like, why even bother bringing him up? Like, we can just let this guy cook and simmer a little bit. If the White Sox were like in the playoff picture, I think you would be seeing Hagan pitching in the big leagues like very soon. But I think given their situation as a franchise, they'll probably just let him simmer for a little bit. I think I actually saw, I don't remember who it was that tweeted this out. But by the way, shout out to Mary Ellen Brown. Y'all know Mary Ellen Brown on Twitter. Every single day tweets out the minor league baseball highlights for Arkansas baseball, or like former Hogs. It is such a useful thing. But I saw, and it might have been her, but it might have been someone else that said this. I can't remember. But yesterday, Hagan struck out 6 guys, and like I think 4 or 5 of them were former big leaguers or guys that had MLB service time. So Hagan's that dude, man. And he was that, honestly, he was that good when he left Arkansas. If I'm being like, I think he could have gotten big league hitters out. Now, was he good enough to like start right away? Maybe not. Ooh, Big Country hits a ground ball to the left side, and he beat it out. Now the throw pulled the first baseman off. I feel like honestly he was probably gonna beat it out anyway. What are we ruling on that? What the official score go with here? Yeah, Reese Robinette singles to shortstop. Yeah, that was a weird play there. But we'll take it, man. We'll take it. Ooh, yeah, Gage says Cade Anderson is another guy that'll get to the bigs quick. Yeah, Cade Anderson, whew, that dude is good. I mean, he was good last year when we saw him, whenever he shut Arkansas down in Omaha. Reese Robinette, victim, though. We do have to point that out. Cade Anderson did get that shit sent to the, over the right field fence by Reese Robinette, as we all predicted. But no, Cade Anderson's an absolute dog, man. And he was a sophomore last year. He was draft eligible, but he's just now 21 years old, and he's pitching in Double-A, just absolutely mowing dudes down. First year of pro ball. He's about as good of a pitching prospect as I think you can find, if I'm being honest with you, man. I can't imagine. I don't know where he's ranked on the lists in terms of like the MLB top 100. I know I think Hagan's like number 75 or something like that. I can't imagine there's many guys better in terms of pitching prospects than Cade Anderson. Arkansas says, hey, Andrew, how do you feel about my Rays bringing back small ball? I honestly didn't know they were doing this, but I will say, Arkansas, the Rays franchise is one that I really respect a lot because they are one of the most like analytically driven franchises you'll find. Now that may have changed actually, because I know that they've had some different guys. People have been poaching not only their players and their talent on their roster, people have been poaching their front office guys too, because they realized these dudes are like, they've figured something out. But the Rays get the most out of their roster year in and year out. So if they're bringing back small ball, I'm sure it's because some nerd of the spreadsheet figured out it's what they need to do. And I see Arkansas 32 says, has Cobbs made it to the big leagues yet? No, he has not, and I don't believe he is currently playing pro ball. I could be wrong. I believe this is the first year that he's out of there. And that sucks for him, man. I was hoping he would maybe at least get to have a little bit in the big leagues there, but he was also like 25 when he left Arkansas. And yeah, I think and he was in AAA for a few years there. He was right there, but just couldn't quite get over the hump. And it's a hard game, man. It's really hard to make the big leagues. And if once you like turn 26, they hate you. They're just like, if you're not young and projectable, we don't care. New pitcher for NSU, Caden 5 Ash. Got decent numbers. A little bit of a high walk right there, but not bad. So yeah, we're gonna see everybody in this game. Great question here from Shane. Says, what's your favorite baseball movie? Mine is Moneyball. So Moneyball's way up there for me. And the people that knock down Moneyball, they all knock it down and say, oh, well, I mean, they didn't even mention Miguel Tejada. You didn't mention Barry Zito, all these great pitchers they had. They're missing the point. That's not the point. The point was not to tell the accurate story of the A's that year. It's like, it's the premise, and I'm all for it. I think Brad Pitt, it's like such a good Brad Pitt performance. And Jonah Hill, too. Oh. Is this not a foul ball here? I feel like, so Pompey tried to bunt the ball. I feel like the ball hit him before he left the batter's box. But, I still can't tell what they called. So, yeah, that bunt's there. Pompey moved. So, okay, we just saw that angle right here. We have literal visual proof that Arkansas is not teaching bunting the right way because he's moving his bat as the ball's coming. He's trying to hit it like that. And I mean, this is just day one. And I'm not trying to sound like the guy who's like, oh, I know better, I coach or whatever. Like, it's really not that. But it's like if you are trying to bunt by moving the bat as the ball's coming, hey, he gets one down. And they call him out. Thought he may have beat it. But yeah, he gets a bunt down there, but I don't like that, man. And I don't know. I've kind of like rolled my eyes when people get mad about the bunting thing, but seriously, man, this is tough. I'm glad he got it down though. And now you got second and third with one out. Prime time situation to get that run in, man. All right, where was I? Was at? Oh, we were talking about Moneyball though. No, I think Moneyball is a great movie. I think Jonah Hill does a great job in that movie as well. It's like a weirdly serious role for him. Love that movie. I love Major League. Major League's always been one of my favorite baseball movies. I even like Major League too. Major League, the first one's better, but I love Major League. Rookie of the Year, Henry Rowan-Gardner. Someone referenced that on the show today. They were like, I hope Wiggins comes back from injury like the kid from Rookie of the Year. Rudenbar, I feel like, is so good in these situations. Obviously, he's the one who drove in the run earlier in a sac fly. He came up in this situation against Missouri, second and third, brings the infield in. He gets the ball through. Like, he's clutch. He shortens up. He does a good job. I'm knocking on wood as I say this, as he fouls one back. But I feel like Rudenbar has been pretty solid in these situations here. Angels in the outfield's good. Loaded cast. Ooh, there's a base hit for Carter Rudenbar. Love that. Good piece of hitting right there. You want to talk about a two-strike approach? That's a two-strike approach right there. You're down 1-2 in the count. You just shorten up. You get the ball in play. You let it travel. You let it get deep. You hit it where it like that is like textbook. Should be shown in classrooms. How to hit with two strikes. Might not even been a strike, honestly. Outer edge. If you try to pull that ball, you try to hit a home run there, you're swinging and missing, or you're hitting a ground ball to the second baseman and you're getting the run cut down at home. That's beautiful. That's beautiful stuff right there. That fired me up. 2-2 game now. And Kojal grounds one back to the pitcher and has the run cut down at home. Not great there. Not great, but, Ooh, I see Bull Durham, elite baseball movie right there. I love that one. Costner. Is Kevin Costner the sports movie GOAT? I know the draft was last week. I didn't watch draft day this year, but I usually do watch it around this time. Kevin Costner, and he's got For the Love of the Game. He pitches in that game or in that movie. Kevin Costner. He's on the Mount Rushmore of sports movie actors for sure. All righty, Ryder. What you got for us, Ryder? Cap. Good pitch. Hayden, my guy Hayden, who, by the way, Hayden, I saw your message the other day, and I don't remember what I was doing, but I'm sure it was very important. And I meant to circle back and get back to you, and I apologize. Publicly, hand up, I apologize. I forgot to get back to you, but I did see your message, and I appreciated it, and I meant to respond. I'm sorry. But he says, Root, Clark, Ruiz with some transfer power in between them would feed families next season. I like that. Are we cutting Kahio Aloy or no? Or are we telling them to kick rocks? Like, what are we doing here? What are we thinking? But no, I think you're onto something, and it's going to need to be a lot of transfer power, low key. All righty. Ryder swings at ball 4. Ooh, rung him up. Rung him up on the outside corner. Okay, so 2-2 going to the 5th inning here. And David wants to know Helfrich or Opitz. Helfrich, dude, without a doubt. No disrespect. I love Casey Opitz. Casey Opitz is an absolute dog. In fact, Casey Opitz has a huge hand in the name of this podcast. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but Casey Opitz's walk-up song used to be Baumbastic by Shaggy. And so every now and then people would be like, oh, Mr. Baumbastic. And I always liked that. And I kind of just stole it, if I'm being honest with you. I hope he doesn't have a problem with it. If he does, I'll gladly, we'll switch it around. But and Opitz was a great defender, like big time. In fact, he's probably going to be a guy that gets called up to catch a few big league games because of how good he is behind the plate. But like in terms of like offensive, I mean, I know it's like kind of easy to say, oh, this guy's a better defender, this guy's a better offensive player. I think Casey Opitz is a better defender by a small margin, and I think Ryder is like a infinitely better hitter. So yeah, I think Helfrich for sure. In fact, someone on the show, the Inside Arkansas live show he did today, someone asked who like for an all-time lineup, and I had Ryder Helfrich at catcher for people in my lifetime over James McCann, who did not hit as much as I thought at Arkansas. He was okay his junior year. He was pretty good, hit like over 300, I think 9 home runs or something like that, but offensively pretty big disparity between discrepancy between him and Helfrich. But Casey Opitz is a stud, man. I loved his the way he, like, his energy, the way he would call the games. The leadership was definitely there. Helfrich's more of a subdued personality, but he'll get after him every now and then. All right, Tuna's back out here trying to steal a little win on the mound. Is this the 3rd inning for Tuna? Does that sound right? Yeah. David says, was Chad Spanberger juicing? You can tell us. I don't know if he was or not. I feel like if he were juicing, he probably should have continued to juice because it didn't necessarily pan out for him in pro ball. But no, I think he was just a freak who, anytime he made contact, it was crazy. He had some absolute. I mean, he got so hot there for a little bit. Had like 9 home runs in 10 games or something crazy. SEC tournament legend. Top 5, and what time is it? 4:34. So we're on pace for about a 3-hour game. Doesn't look like we're getting a run rule. Not a big part of what this team does. They don't run rule a lot of folks. Ooh, Peyton says, player that you were surprised transferred out from last year's team, if any at all. I got to be honest with you. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody that I was like surprised transferred. I would have preferred Michael Anderson to not transfer, especially given how well he's swinging it. I mean, he's got like 18 home runs or something like that. But I wasn't necessarily surprised because he was banged up. He never really got to play much at Arkansas. Definitely was not surprised that Gabe Frazier transferred. I wasn't stunned that Zane Becker transferred. Just because he was behind Helfrich. He obviously wasn't going to start this year. I am stunned that he went to A&M to go be a backup there. So I don't know how that came about. Him decide. If he was going to transfer, I thought he would go somewhere where he could play. I would have liked to keep Zane Becker because I thought he was a nice player. But yeah, I don't know. There's really not many. I'm trying to think. Was there any pitchers that left? Let's see. Of the pitchers that pitched last year, everyone either returned or got drafted or graduated. So yeah, there's really not anybody. I mean, because anyone who doesn't play, you can't be surprised if they transfer. And so I definitely wasn't surprised by a lot of them, but yeah, Becker would probably be the closest thing to that. But for the most part, it's kind of like just kind of how it goes. I don't think Gabe Frazier, and I don't think he's playing at Florida State a ton. He played a little bit early in the season. And so I don't know. He's a talented player. I think Gabe Frazier could end up being really good. But I will leave it at I am not surprised that he is no longer with the program. Ooh, good pitch from Big Tona. Gets a punch out. And yeah, Gage makes a great point. I'm just mad that UALR pitcher out of the portal went pro for no reason. I would agree. Signed for pennies. I didn't really understand that. We could have used him for sure. But once you get up there in age a little bit, you got to go ahead and make your money while you can. But yeah, I definitely would have thought that. He would have run it out, or played at Arkansas a little bit. But from what I can tell, by the way, about Jackson Wells, it doesn't seem like he was like a diehard Arkansas fan. Because my buddy Hutch, who you guys know, he interviewed him like a year ago, and because there was a thought that like, oh, they might come to the Fayetteville Regional, and he was their ace, and he had led the nation in ERA that one year, so they thought it'd be a cool thing. But it seemed like he said when he asked him about it, he didn't really have much to say about like growing up watching Arkansas baseball. I don't think he was like a huge college baseball fan, period. So I don't think he was a dude, even though he's from Rogers, I don't think he was like dying to come play at Baum. It wasn't like a dream of his. All right, so 2 outs now. If Tuna can get through this inning, I will be very pleased with his work and thank him for his service, and it will solidify him as a midweek legend. Could potentially end his career. This might be the final time we get to watch Colin Fisher pitch a midweek game. We all remember Kobe's last game. Well, what about Colin Fisher's last midweek outing? Colin Fisher's another dude who I feel like has towed the line between underrated and overrated a lot throughout his career, where he started off so well in his freshman year. And I think a lot of people after that were kind of like, hey, this dude's like a dude, like he's the midweek starter, but like he's going to end up being like a huge piece. And I remember when he got hurt on the podcast, I kind of like downplayed it. And I, not downplayed it because I didn't like him, but I was kind of like, oh, well, it sucks for him. He's pitching well, but like, it wasn't like they're missing a weekend arm. And people push back. We're like, no, dude, that dude's a stud. Like, why are you, like that's going to be a huge loss. And I was like, and I kind of was surprised by it. And I was like, okay, respect to Colin Fisher. Yeah, hope he is able to get back out there and be healthy. And then last year, obviously, it didn't go well for him. And I feel like everybody was very down on him. And then he starts this year hot. Oh, hey, we're talking about Helfrich throwing guys out. There was a good throw. Very accurate. I like that. But then, yeah, he starts this year hot, and it's like, oh, let's make him the Friday night starter. He's the man. And now it's kind of swung back the other way to where it's like, oh, this guy's, we can't use him at all. And so it's like, it's just kind of been the way it's played out. That right there is like a very ideal location on that throw right there. In fact, I might even argue Souza should let that one travel a little bit. Go ahead and catch it down low. Just, you have to move the arm. But good stuff. All right, so Arkansas gets out of the top of the fifth inning. Still 2-2, so we got to give Big Tuna a win. Like the actual credited with the win in his final midweek outing. Love that. And Peyton wants to know, do you think Brissy is a future weekend starter just from a profile standpoint? I think it's very possible. I think he's definitely got the stuff. I mean, he throws three pitches already, and he obviously hasn't pitched a ton here lately. It hasn't gone well for him, especially in SEC games. But like from the day he arrived on campus, he had a pretty decent feel for the changeup, can mix speeds a little bit. Like he's, from a profile standpoint, I definitely think he's got starter stuff. Will he be a weekend starter in the SEC at Arkansas? That's a little bit different. You know what I mean? Because, Colin Fisher's a guy where it's like, yeah, I think he profiles as a starter. Like, he could definitely start. But, like, in the SEC, at the University of Arkansas, maybe not. And so we'll see how it plays out. I'm very, very high on Mark Brissy, even though it hasn't gone well for him lately. And it's been disappointing, for him, for everybody. I think he's a guy that this summer, this offseason is going to be massive for Brissy. I don't know where he's going to play, but I think it's going to be huge for him in his development. I think he's going to be a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing, like, in the fall. I'm always excited to see the team in the fall no matter what, because you get to see the newcomers and all that. He's one whose progress this offseason I'm going to have circled, where it's like I really want to know what he's up to. And then David wants to know, why do you think we haven't seen Briscoe a lot? He has electric stuff. Trust. What a wild ride that was with Briscoe, where we see him once, he strikes out the side, and we're like, holy cow, this guy's awesome. Then he comes in for against Florida, walks someone on 4 pitches, and it's like, okay, maybe not quite ready for that. Honestly, David, I think it's been more the situation because, Arkansas hasn't had, this was supposed to be a 2-game midweek series. They haven't played any 2-game midweek series since then, which is when we saw Briscoe. Another pop-up for Ruiz. But we haven't had any, like, really midweek series where they've pitched a ton of young guys. Like, since we saw Briscoe, we also haven't seen Jordan Martin. We've seen Carson Brumball throw a little bit in some slop duty, but we haven't seen Jackson Kershaw a whole lot. We've only seen Cooper Dossett once or twice. Like, there hasn't been a ton of guys that, like, there hasn't been a ton of opportunities to go around necessarily. And so I think for a lot of these freshmen that, you would like to get out there to develop a little bit, see if they can work. There haven't been a ton of opportunities for this team to just let guys throw. They're always in high leverage situations, playing games that they need to win. We about to have a 3-pitch inning here. Or 4-pitch inning. Was that a 2-pitch at bat from Ruiz and then a fly ball to center from Souza? Because I don't love that, if I'm being honest with you. I'd prefer them not to do that. But no, I think with Briscoe, it's just been kind of the way it's played out. There's not a ton of opportunities to go around, and I think they probably waited too late. Honestly, in hindsight, they probably should have thrown him earlier in the season, especially with the way he looked. But yeah, I think right now, especially coming out of that Auburn series, which something that I called for publicly was like, let's reduce the list of guys that we're throwing. Let's on the weekends, let's only throw 7 guys, and we'll be all right. And so honestly, that would be the reason why, more so than like they hate him or they think he sucks or anything like that. And I do wonder who they're going to throw these last several innings, honestly. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like. Like, genuinely, now that I'm really thinking about it, like, I guess Coyle could throw. Maybe you want to throw him a little bit, but I probably wouldn't want to. I wish it weren't a 2-2 game. Like, if this score were 10-2 right now, it'd be a lot more fun to have this conversation, because then we really would be sitting here saying, all right, hey, let's throw Jordan Martin in here, man. Let's throw Ty Briscoe in there. Let's throw Mark Brissy in here. Let's see what we got to do. Okay, so 3 pop flies in this inning. Love it. All righty, so we head to the top of the 6th. Does that sound right? Yeah. We're heading to the top of the 6th. As it stands right now, it looks like Fisher is still on the mound. We shall see. Big Donnelly says, we look baffled at the plate a lot of times. Don't see the breaking ball well. Yeah, baffled's interesting, like, because it's not like they're like getting completely fooled by pitches and missing by a foot. I personally think they swing at pitches they shouldn't swing at, like at an alarming rate. And it's not like even just the obvious ones like the breaking ball in the dirt, but it's like if they throw you a first pitch fastball that's elevated and in on your hands, why are you swinging at that pitch? Like, why? Like, even if it's a strike, just take that. Strike one, okay, cool. That's not a pitch I'm going to do damage with. If I get to a 2-strike count and I need to foul it off, okay, but like that's not a pitch you're going to like hit hard. So why are you even putting the bat on the ball? Like, I feel like all three, Micah New was at least down in the count with two strikes, so he kind of just had to put the ball in play. But it's like I think they get themselves out so often where it's like just soft ground balls, soft pop flies, and it's like if you're early in the count and the pitch is not over the heart of the plate, why are we swinging? Why are we trying to do damage right there? Like, I just feel like they are a little too aggressive, So I don't think it's like a thing where it's like, oh, they can't hit or they can't see the breaking ball or anything like that. I just think they are way too aggressive, and teams, I don't even know if teams try to play into it. I think teams just, when they don't throw the ball directly over the plate, they kind of know Arkansas will swing and they'll probably just hit a weak ground ball to our shortstop and we can just field it, boom. Or we just throw an elevated fastball anywhere near the top of the zone and they'll pop it up. I think they should be a lot more decisive about what they're doing. And it does look like Colin Fisher's still out there, so I'm just going 4 innings for Big Tuna. Screw it. And Silver Mug says we have to be league worst at making teams pay for mistake pitches. So I would disagree with this. I actually think Arkansas, when they get mistakes, they usually do pretty good damage. I mean, Zach Stewart hadn't hit a ball hard in a month, and then he gets a mistake in a 2-strike count the other day, hits it 450 feet. Now, that's just one example. That's, just one here and there. But, like, I think Arkansas swings and misses or swings and pops up pitches that are not mistakes. I think them swinging too much at non-mistakes is way more of an issue than them not hitting pitches that are right down the middle. You know what I mean? And are there times where they take pitches that they probably shouldn't take? Sure. But I think they swing at way more pitches than they need to. I think if they literally just like had a mentality of like, hey, just take until we get to a 2-strike count, they would work way more walks. They would find way more mistakes. Like, they would be able to do a lot more damage, but they're swinging too much at pitches that are on the borderline, that are like, they swing at pitchers' pitches. That's what they like to do. And I don't know. I think it's I don't know if it's a pitch recognition issue or if it's a like just too aggressive. It's just trying to do too much. I don't know. Too much confidence. I don't know. You wouldn't think they would have too much confidence, but yeah. I mean, listen, I'm sure there's every single team, you watch any baseball game, there's examples of teams that take pitches that they shouldn't take. I just feel like there's a billion more examples of them putting a ball in play that they have no business putting in play. Like that last inning, literally the new one at least was in 2-strike, but like all 3 of those are like, why is that the one that you pull the trigger on? All right, so Fisher's up to 50 pitches on the pitch count. Make it 51, and he's got 2 outs here. Bro's cruising, man. And David says, so it sounds like we have a bad plate approach. I mean, it's not like approach is a word. Like, I don't think it's a thing where it's like they're being coached. Hey, swing at pitches that are on the inner half. I think that's a like hitter's decision in the heat of the moment. That's not a program. Like Nate Thompson's not sitting there being like, hey, if they throw you an elevated fastball that's not really a strike, pop it up to center field. Like, I don't think that's a coaching staff approach decision. I think that's great way to put it here, Silver. Have the approach, not showing discipline. You know what I mean? Anytime you see someone swing and miss at a 2-strike pitch, it's not because they don't know, hey, I'm supposed to wait, let the ball travel, go the other way, be aggressive, be disciplined here. It's because they are just, you either get fooled or you just miss it or you just, don't see it well. Like those things contribute a lot more than I think people realize. Because I promise you, I promise you that Dave or Nate or whoever is not sitting there being like, yo, only swing at borderline pitches. And there's Big Tuna getting a 3-up, 3-down inning. Let me pull up the numbers here for Big Tuna because I bet they're pretty good. So he's gone 4 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts, 55 pitches, 34 strikes. That'll do. And then Tate McGuire had 2 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits. He didn't walk anybody either, only had the 1 strikeout, but he threw 33 pitches for 20 strikes. So overall, Arkansas's 88 pitches, 54 strikes. That'll do. That'll get the job done. All right, where are we at? Now we got Kahio Aloy coming back up. Am I right in thinking that Kahio has both the runs? Yeah, Kahio has both of the Arkansas runs, and he got them both when he was leading off an inning. So might just have to be what we do here. Trick 096 says our color guys just said they think Wiggins is going to be shut down for the season. I'm not listening. I haven't heard. That's very interesting. Is that what did Brett Dolan say that? Wow. Because that is that must have happened today. If they're saying that, that means that something has changed. It means our knocking on wood didn't work. That's interesting. But I can't confirm because I wasn't listening. I have no idea what they said. And that would be a very notable development. So we'll see if Dave's asked about it after the game. Interesting. The color guys said, So was it Eklund? Eklund said that he was going to get shut down for the season. That is interesting. But I will say, we were talking earlier about how the timeline has always kind of been the same from the program. There's been people outside of the program that have from the jump said Wiggins is not going to throw. He's never going to throw. It was never being considered. And I'll be hearing Dave say, yeah, he's throwing bullpens. We're trying to get him work. And then someone not involved with the program will be like, oh, yeah, he's not throwing. So I don't know. It may just be like a lost in translation thing. But like I said earlier, I'm sure Dave is going to be asked about Wiggins specifically after the game. And so we'll be able to tell. And if he did have something weird go on, I don't think Dave would come right out and say it and be like, oh, yeah, he tweaked it. But that is definitely news to me. And no disrespect to Troy, because I'm sure because Troy's a stud. As a player was a stud, and then he's tapped in, but he did also get duped by a David Marks tweet on air one time. Y'all remember that? So I'm not saying that's what happened here, but I'm saying it wouldn't be the first time that he read something on Twitter and then was like, oh. All righty, Kuhio. So he walked his first time up, had a base hit the second time, scored both. Is that going to be foul? Oh, not even going to go over the fence. Kahio Aloy flies out to left field. Off the bat, I was like, oh, that thing's way gone. And then I was like, oh, it's going to go foul. No, just caught by the left fielder. Okay. Okay, so 1 out, bottom 6. The Wiggins development threw me completely off. Now I've had to now I'm like thinking about that. But okay, I would really appreciate if they could just score some runs here in this thing. It appears Cahillo is not going to be scoring the third run. That was our only thing we had going here. Also, I'm seeing a lot of bitching about Cahillo in the chat for a dude that is the only guy doing anything in this game. I mean, I get it. He flew out to left. I would have preferred him hit a home run too, but it's like, well, we can relax a little bit. Hayden wants to know, how deep is your circle of trust? Oh, where are we at? Here we go. How deep is your circle of trust? It's about 6 or 7 guys deep, and that's not a 6-7 joke. I think it really is. I mean, let me think about this for a second. So let me pull up the numbers real quick. I would go, obviously, Dietz, Gibbler, Coyle, Gackle, McIlvain, Eves, and that might be it for right now. I mean, Big Tuna obviously threw really well today. Love Big Tuna. I don't know for sure if that's going to translate to weekend games, but you know, he's kind of on the cusp there. Dawson is a guy that's like kind of in that mix. You know, maybe Kersher works his way back, although we haven't seen him since North Little Rock. But yeah, no, Coyle's definitely in there. Coyle's like a locked in. He's, you know, him, Dietz, McIlvain, and Gibbler, there's like really no debate to be had, I would argue. Gackle, there is debate, but like I think we kind of have to have him in there. And I think Eves has done, for the most part, a decent job. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been like lights out, as Big Country works a nice little walk. So the go-ahead run is on first. But I think those top 4 guys are like for sure. Outside of that, man, it gets pretty thin pretty quick. Are they going to the pin here? Looks like they will. They're big on giving hugs on their way out to the mount. Gage says, didn't Kersher throw like 4 scoreless last outing, or was that the outing before last? I think that was like 3 months ago, if I'm being honest with you. Because in North Little Rock, he pitched, I think he got 1 out and walked 2 or 3, gave up a run there. He pitched against Florida and threw like decent for 1 inning, and then came out and didn't get outs. He threw like 8 pitches against Auburn before Ryder Helfrich was like dog cussing him, and they pulled him out of that one. Basically, anytime he's pitched in weekend games, it hasn't gone well. He had thrown pretty well in some midweek games, but then again, every time they would throw him in the weekend, it just wouldn't translate. But no, yeah, he threw, I think it was against like Northern Colorado. He threw 3 scoreless or something about that. But yeah, Hayden wants to know, is 6-7 enough? No, I mean, it is for the most part. I mean, people will always say no. They say, no, you got to have 10 arms. I mean, it is enough if those 6 or 7, 7 specifically, if you have 7 guys that truly you can trust and you can stretch them out. I mean, LSU won the national championship last year with 5. People will lie and try and tell you otherwise. They had 5 arms. And, you know, they every now and then you get into a situation where you maybe steal an inning here and there from them, but like they had those 2 top starters. They had Chase Shores. They had Cowan was a pretty good like kind of hybrid guy for them. Maybe 1 other arm. You know, they had a little freshman lefty that would throw every now and then for them, but really it was 5 or 6 guys that LSU used, and they won the national title. In 2018, when Arkansas they pretty much won the national title, they had 6 guys that they used. Out of the bullpen, it was Cronin, Lowski, Reindl, every now and then Cole Ramage, but really it was them. And then your 3 starters, one of which you didn't really trust. But yeah, you would obviously like to have more. But I think last year's Arkansas team is kind of proof that pitching depth can be a little bit overrated. You just got to have those top guys. And yes, Hayden, dude, I loved. So yesterday I saw a D1 baseball bracket and a Baseball America bracket. The D1 baseball bracket was like the best possible draw I could ever imagine. Had him in the Nebraska regional. I can't remember who it was that they were matched up with, but it was like a matchup that I was like perfectly fine with. And then the Baseball America one had them in Corvallis playing UC Santa Barbara, who, by the way, has maybe the best pitcher in the best pitcher in the country is at UC Santa Barbara. And you were matched up with Georgia in the Super, and I hated that. But yeah, no, I definitely like the Nebraska one a lot. Not a burner. Vince for me says, you think playing Camden out of position has led to his hitting struggles, junior slump? He's had some struggles here in SEC play, but I mean he's hitting 300 with 15 doubles and 12 home runs. He's not that far off from what he was last year. He's just had a couple of bad weekends in SEC play, but no, I think it's just kind of hashtag that's just baseball, honestly. And we are headed to the 7th inning, 2-2. As Rutenbar grounds out. Okay. Let me fire off a few text messages real quick while we sit here and wait for the 7th inning to start. All right. But no, yeah, Peyton says thoughts about being sent out west to possibly Oregon State. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. I won't be surprised if it happens because that's just kind of what's been going on for everything. They love to send us out to the West Coast. And I've noticed that the NCAA, because obviously travel matters a lot, like it's hard to send all these teams to different places. What they usually do is they wind up screwing the teams that they know can handle it. So like a program like an Arkansas or a Mississippi State or an LSU, they don't mind sending those dudes to travel because it's not that hard for Arkansas to just hop on a Tyson jet or whatever. But, some of the smaller schools, they'll like kind of try and make them more regional. So, yeah, I definitely don't think they're going to like be, they're going to send us with regional stuff. They're not going to give us a good draw from that standpoint. And then Hayden wants to know how much better you think this team would be with Brenton Clark. They would definitely be better. I mean, Brenton Clark's a stud, and he also represents what this lineup is kind of missing a little bit of like, having a guy that just puts the ball in play, takes a ton of walks, high on base percentage. He certainly wouldn't necessarily help in the power department, but, Arkansas is one of the best stolen base teams in the SEC. You add Brenton Clark to that, they might be like a top 2 or 3 stolen base type of team. Your OBP would be higher. You'd have, Rutenbar's done a great job in the leadoff spot, but that would be another guy you could maybe put him down at the bottom of the lineup. Him, Ruiz, someone like that, kind of give you a little bit more different skill sets. They definitely would help. The problem with that is, think about it. I'm seeing a Daniel Sheet tweet where he's talking about this being a must-win game. Why do people do this? What is people's obsession with declaring everything a must-win game? Like, listen, I would certainly love for Arkansas to win this game, and I'd be pissed if they lost it, and I will be pissed on this stream if they lose it. This is not a freaking must-win game. If Arkansas goes 7-2 in the SEC games down the stretch, this game means nothing. Now if Arkansas goes 2-7 in the SEC down the stretch, then this game also means nothing if they win it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think this is very much not a must win at all. But whatever, that's a whole separate conversation. But back on track, I think they'd be better. But the problem with Clark is he plays outfield, and you got Rutenbar who's kind of out there playing, and so maybe if Clark were there, you'd have him at right field and have Rutenbar DHing, but then you'd have to, you'd have Stewart and Aloy. You'd basically have to give up on. You know what I mean? You'd basically have to not play either of those guys at all, which. So I don't know what the lineup decisions would look like. And yes, American Lee. All games are definitely meaningful. There's no doubt about it. Games are definitely meaningful. But must-win game? Like, is every game a must-win game? Obviously not. And so I don't know how this game would classify as that. This game definitely is meaningful. It would help Arkansas get a nice little boost. But yeah, this is definitely not a game where, like, if Arkansas lost it, they would be like in trouble. You know what I mean? So he says, what's wrong? You scared of them. Please play the games. I don't know. I may have missed something. What is this a reference to? Can you help me out a little bit? Who are we talking about? What games do we need to play? What you got to help me a little bit. You got to communicate a little bit. We were talking in case you just popped in. This is Arkansas baseball, Northwestern State. That's what we're talking about. If you're referring to yesterday, that was a game where like the rain, they didn't really have a choice. I mean, they maybe could have played, but there was some pretty crazy storms yesterday. I would have preferred them to play, but By the way, Steel Leaves is on the bump. I don't know if I said that or not, but Steel Leaves is here. He has arrived. Peyton says, I didn't know if you talked about this one, but was the Lawrence projection the one that also had Missouri State being sent there as well? Kind of don't like that. I like it from a standpoint because I kind of like the Missouri State rivalry. By the way, did y'all see the way they lost the other day? They were in Ruston against my boys at Louisiana Tech and blew an 8-2 lead. Blew an 8-2 lead in the ninth inning against Louisiana Tech. So that's a tough one. Missouri State is definitely like a scrappy regional team that would definitely give you some trouble, but I would kind of like it. I wouldn't hate that, but I don't remember if they were in that same one, the Nebraska one. But okay, now we got some more context from American Lee. Says, I drove all the way from El Dorado to watch my son's hero, and he did not play, and he cried. Well, listen, man, I hate to hear that. I really do, genuinely. And that sucks. There was a guy, Blaine, was tweeting at me yesterday because he was driving up from Russellville, not as far as El Dorado, but he was trying to figure out, he's like, hey, should I drive up? Should I not? And I was like, man, I don't know. The forecast looks better, but you never know. There's some, things going on. The weather is why they didn't play. It wasn't like they just were scared of Northwestern State. There was a lot of storms, and it stormed around 5:30 and then it stormed around 8:30. They could have definitely gotten some innings in and then maybe, not been able to finish the game. They just decided to scrap it and only play today. And I'm sorry that sucks for your specific situation. It really does. But one, I don't know what you want me to do about it. And two, it's Mother Nature. What were they supposed to do? Just play in the hail. You know what I mean? I don't know. I do hate that though. Cause that sucks, man. You try to take your kid to a game, you drive up from El Dorado. That's not a fun drive. My dad preaches in El Dorado, and it's a long drive, man. I feel that. And so I'm sorry that happened to you, but I don't think this was the result of a conspiracy that the Hogs were scared of Northwestern State or anything like that. It's just the weather rained it out. Okay, 2 quick outs for Steel Eves. This is going to end up being a dang 4-hour game, isn't it? Or no, we've only gone 2 hours now, right? Okay, so it'll be about a 3-hour game. About a 3-hour game. Fair enough. Or maybe Arkansas will score 10 runs in the bottom of the 7th. Maybe that'll work. Lindsay says, does anybody else get mature, aka old, lady skincare ads that mention Botox when they hop on Inside Arkansas? No, just me. Well, listen, if you return to YouTube specific ads, those may be targeted. So that may be YouTube being mean to you. I don't know. But I will say we do have a new sponsor, Vici, which is a health, wellness, certain skincare type of thing. It's one of our new sponsors here on Inside Arkansas. You saw it. So if you're watching Inside Arkansas live today, maybe they heard us talking about that. And so there's a little bit there. By the way, Steel Leaves got a little ground ball. So 3 up, 3 down inning. Love to see that. But I am sorry that happened to you. Hayden says, why is baseball recruiting so much harder to follow than other sports? How do you keep up? Well, the biggest thing that makes it harder to keep up with, and I would even argue, I host an Arkansas Razorback podcast. I would argue not to freak out too much about it because the draft happens. And so everybody who's in Arkansas signing class, they signed it in, I guess that would have been October, November. Everyone in that signing class is draft eligible and therefore could get drafted and, wind up signing for a ton of money and not coming to campus. And so a lot of these decisions don't get made until pretty late in the process. And so that's a big part of it. And, a lot of times kids commit for baseball years in advance. Like most of the kids in the signing class, very few of them committed late. Most of them commit when they're 15, 16, something like that. And so, and also just baseball's a little bit more niche. So there's just less coverage, less demand about it. The reason I covered the recruiting class when it got signed, but and I'll kind of keep you updated on who's, when the draft rolls around, we will definitely be talking about, hey, here are some incoming freshmen. Here are some guys you need to keep your eye on for the draft. And that's kind of the way I go about covering it. But it's just a very, very niche thing, a little bit harder to keep up with. But yeah, there's not a ton of sites that like 24/7 and Rivals or whoever On3, they don't really rank baseball recruiting classes. It's more like Perfect Game, Prep Baseball Report, Baseball America a little bit. Interesting. Yeah, well, listen, American League, man, I really I really do. I'm sorry that happened to you, and I apologize. That is a bummer. There is no way around it. I'm not trying to tell you shouldn't be upset, and I'm not trying to tell your 7-year-old son he shouldn't be upset. All I'm saying is I don't know why you're yelling at me about it. If I'm being honest with you, and seriously, I am sorry that happened, but it's there was storms in the area. They waited until the last possible minute, and maybe they should have made that decision earlier. But I think they were looking at the forecast and saw what I saw also, which was, hey, it looked like it was going to clear up. Looked like there was going to be a window where they could get it out. Looked like the storm was going to get out of there. And then at 5 p.m., a gust of wind happens. All of a sudden it starts storming, and they realized they were going to storm at 8 p.m. too. And so they made that decision to cancel the game. It sucks. It really does. But it's just kind of the way it goes, man. You need the weather to do their part whenever you're going to play baseball, and it didn't yesterday. And so I'm sorry that happened, man. But hopefully we'll give you another opportunity, man. Hopefully, maybe we'll get you some tickets to a postseason game. Maybe we'll get you well, I say that. It doesn't look like they're going to host postseason games at Baum Walker, so maybe not. But we'll have to give you another opportunity to come bring your kid up, man. That sucks though. El Dorado, it's not a fun drive, El Dorado to Fayetteville, man. So I do empathize with you for sure. But I promise you, nobody, me or anyone in this chat, none of us had anything to do with the decision. I can assure you. Camden Coach was on base with a single, though. How about that? Good piece of hitting up the middle like that. Yeah, you got the heart of the lineup up now. You got Ryder Helfrich up at the plate. He has not had a great day at the plate. Got to get something going here. Got to get a run here. You know what? We always say it's not a must-win game, but it's a must-score inning now. Okay. Peyton says, do you like pair ratings info? Just kind of started looking at their stuff lately and love the info and content they put out. I am a huge pair rating guy. I haven't met pair rating in person, but I feel like I might here in the next couple of weeks because I believe pair rating, the guy goes to Arkansas. I could be wrong about that, but I do think the pair ratings guy goes to Arkansas. So he's a Hog fan. He's always around. And yeah, I mean, any type of, because in college baseball is it's a niche sport. There's not much, coverage out there. There's not much stuff you can really look at. Any type of database that ranks teams, does any of that stuff, I think is useful. And so, yeah, I'm pro pair ratings for sure. Plus, they had Arkansas as the national champion last year. So, if we didn't win the College World Series, but we were the number one pair rating squad. That's huge. What count was that Ryder Helfrich just swung in? 2-1 count. 2-1 count, and he gets an elevated breaking ball that was maybe above the zone. I think he thought it was a hanger coming out, and so he puts a swing on it. In a 2-1 count, that's a prime example of one where it's like, hey, let's just take that one and see if we get a mistake the next pitch. That would have been a really tough pitch to hit hard. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here. Plus, if there's anyone you're going to nitpick, it's going to be Ryder Helfrich because he's so damn good. When he makes a mistake, we got to get on him a little bit. Hayden wants to know, has Arkansas ever played the RPI game where they canceled game or swapped opponents midseason? I feel like we've been so good as of late. We never had to. What's your opinion on teams that do that? I don't know. I mean, like, I kind of want to say I don't like blame some of these teams, but I do think that's a little bit of a weasel move. And when I say a little bit of a weasel move, I mean a lot of a weasel move. I remember in 2022 when Arkansas didn't host and had to go to the Stillwater Regional, they won 18 SEC games and didn't host. I remember that year was kind of the year that teams started to do that. And I remember Dave kind of saying, he's like, we've never done that and we're not going to, but like, damn, a year like this kind of makes you think maybe we shouldn't have played 2 games against Central Arkansas and 2 games against Pine Bluff or whatever. I don't think Arkansas, I can't remember a time where Arkansas has ever done it. And believe it or not, I don't think yesterday was an example of that at all. Especially because Northwestern State's actually got a pretty solid RPI. But I think what it does, Hayden, I think what Arkansas has done is, especially after that 2022 season, Arkansas has trimmed down the number of times where they will play a truly doo-doo squad. You know, like they will never do a 2-game midweek series against like a Pine Bluff, at least not anymore. They have in years past. And there might be times where you play them twice over the course of the season, but it's like, it's really hard to play that many games against teams that are RPI 300 or whatever. So it's affected the way that Arkansas schedules in the off season, but they haven't in season intentionally ducked an opponent, which is weasel behavior a little bit. Also, Hayden says, I'm at the Sonic in Farmington right now. If I ask for the Andrew Ellis special, do you think you're enough of a regular they'd know what to get me? I don't know if they would know Andrew Ellis. Maybe I mean, I do mobile order a lot, so they probably would recognize. If you said, "Hey, I'm good friends with Andrew who comes in a red car," I think they would know who you're talking about. Probably. I was really. I mean, I'm sure you saw my tweet the other day. I was humiliated when that girl said, "Yeah, I got the same car as you, and when you come here, which is like every day, I always think it's my car." That was a tough one. That was a tough break for me, but. Yeah, no, I don't have a go-to order, though. Someone asked me the other day. I go through phases a little bit. I've been on a breakfast toaster kick where I'll get breakfast toaster and a Coke. That's kind of been my go-to lately, but I don't have like a Andrew Ellis, like where I get the same thing every time. I mean, Sonic's got such a diverse menu. I could go on for an hour on this topic. There's too many things to choose between. So, okay, I'm not, this is not reporting. This is not me confirming or denying anything, but I will say I've texted a few people to be like, hey, WTF, Troy Eklund just said Carson Wiggins is getting shut down. And everyone has responded and been like, what the hell? Like they were also surprised to hear that, which again, doesn't confirm that he's definitely not getting shut down, but you know, at least nobody else, it's not like a narrative out there. It's not like a thing that's happening. So if I mean, maybe Troy saw something happen in pregame today or something like that. I really don't know. But I know, again, I would imagine Dave's going to get asked about him after the game. And, you know, we'll be able to tell based on his reaction. Even if Dave doesn't come right out and say it. Matter of fact, speaking of Wiggins brothers and coming back from injury, I one time right before the 2023 season, which is when when Jackson Wiggins was supposed to be the Friday night starter. And I remember asking Matt Hobbs a question about Jackson Wiggins, and I didn't know he had just torn his shit. Nobody knew because he had just gotten hurt, but they hadn't had the MRI. They hadn't officially shut him down, but I didn't know. So I was just like, hey, you know, Jackson, his development, like, you know, how excited are you about him? And I remember Matt Hobbs like giving me a weird look and like giving me a nothing burger of an answer where he's like, yeah, we love Jackson. I'm proud of him, excited for his future. And I was like, that's all you have to say about your Friday night starter? I remember thinking it was kind of weird. And I was like really excited because I was like talking to Matt Hobbs one-on-one and he gave me a nothing burger of an answer. And I was kind of like, that was weird, but I didn't think anything of it. I just moved on in my life. 3 days later, it's like, yeah, he's out for the year. We shut him down. I was like, damn, that's why he had a little bit of a weird reaction. So if in the press conference today, they say, hey, Dave, is Carson Wiggins going to pitch this weekend? And he says no and gives a weird look and then kind of, you know, like then we can maybe, I'm not saying we should freak out and speculate, but I think you'll be able to tell kind of by his reaction if something weird happened. And I feel weird talking about this right now because I'm kind of just reacting in moment, and so I hope it doesn't, I really hope this is just a big misunderstanding and he comes in and throws 2 innings Sunday and we're all fine. Oof. Good pitch there. So Souza's down 1-2. 1 out. By the way, Ruiz worked a walk. So you had the Kojal single, Helfrich fly out, Ruiz walk, first and second, 1 out, 1-2 count to Mr. Souza. Oh, that hit him? Sure did. Wow. Caught a break there, but we will gladly take it. 1-2 pitch, tries to throw a breaking ball in the dirt, and it just spikes and hits Souza in the butt. Man, that was huge. You go from 1-2, maybe about to get a huge punch out, to bases loaded, 1 out. If Northwestern State doesn't win this game, they're going to look at their pitching staff and be like, damn, we gave these dudes too many free passes, too many opportunities. Yep, get them beer hats on. Like a new. All right. Arkansas leads 3-2. Mike Anu hits an absolute missile out to left field. Almost hit it too hard, honestly, because the left fielder caught it coming in, catches it on the fly, and if he didn't have a noodle arm, probably would have thrown Camden Kojal out at the plate. Yeah, good swing there, but just right at the left fielder. And then Kojal just straight up was like, this dude ain't throwing me out. And he didn't. Threw about a 14 hopper over to home plate, didn't even get there. Yeah, but yeah, North Little Rock Hog, my guy Alex here. I don't know if I shouldn't be doxing him like that, but he says, can you block the bag like that? That was crazy. That was a little crazy. Yeah, he didn't have, because you can't block it without the ball. If you have the ball, you can do whatever. He never had the ball. In fact, even when the ball got there, he didn't have the ball. Had Cam not scored there, that call would have come into play where it would have been like, hey, you blocked the bag. But I think since he went ahead and scored, they just didn't bother saying anything about it. Oof. Eesh. Ooh, Hayden wants to know about a couple TCU transfers. Says, when players like Caleb Bolden or Zach Morris transfer out for their last year after playing several years with the Hogs, does that taint how you look back on them as a fan? I would say no. Personally, now for both of those guys in their situations, I think it was as simple as like, hey, I just think I'm not going to pitch that much coming in. And I would imagine they were told as much in their exit meetings. Because if you remember in 2021, it didn't go well for Caleb Bolden. He wasn't horrible, but they gave him a lot of opportunities. Like, he was the Saturday starter at certain times this season. He started the opener of the regional. They gave him a lot of opportunities, and it didn't necessarily work out. And there's no shame on him. It is what it is. Ooh, Cahillo gets in a 1-2 count and just kind of pokes a base hit through the left side. That'll score another run. That's a huge insurance run there. So that makes it 4-2. And it's been a good day at the office for Cahillo Aloy. It's produced 3 of Arkansas's 4 runs. But anyways, back to Caleb Bolden. The more important thing here, Caleb Bolden and Zach Morris. I would imagine, and I don't know this for sure, this is not, like sourced information here, but I would imagine Caleb Bolden was probably told in his exit interview, hey man, it didn't really go well this year. No disrespect to you, but like, we're going to attempt to recruit over you. Like we gave you a lot of opportunities, no disrespect, but it didn't go well. We're going to go get other guys. And if you want to pitch a lot, it's probably not going to happen here. And I think the same probably happened for Zach Morris, who was really good for Arkansas in 2022 It didn't go well for him in 2023 for whatever reason. And I think they, with that 2024 pitching staff, which was kind of loaded, they probably told him, hey, we wish you well in your future endeavors. So I know it doesn't. I don't view them any differently. Like I don't view either of those guys negatively. But no, I'm all good. And to answer your question, Gage, he literally has an opposite field single in this game. So yes, he does. Why are y'all on Cahillo's at? Cahillo is 2 for 3 with a walk, 2 runs, and an RBI in a 4-2 game, and we're like sitting here being like, Cahillo, just I don't know about Cahillo, man. It's like damn, bro. even when he has a good game, we gotta be on his ass. Like, geez. Man. Also, I've been watching this game on my phone, which is about to die. My angle is going to change now. But okay, we're now into the top of the 8th here. So, let's see. Who we got on the bump here? Are they going to run it back out with ease? No. Parker Coyle is going to be on the bump when we get back from action, according to the stat broadcast. Which is interesting. I think Eves threw like 11 pitches, 12 pitches or something like that. So like he'll be perfectly fine. He'll be available on Friday, even when they start the series. I imagine they're going to try and do a similar thing with Coyle here. Maybe throw him, ideally he gets through this inning on 3 pitches or something like that. But I imagine it's going to be 1 inning for Coyle. He's going to be fine. He'll be ready to roll on Friday. I wonder if they're going to close McIlvain in this game. I didn't necessarily think about that. Certainly wouldn't have predicted that, but maybe that's just what they do. Just say, F it, man. 4-2. We're not messing around. I mean, Eves is a circle of trust guy. They used him in this game. You're going to Coyle. He's a circle of trust guy. And, McIlvain's a little bit differently because he's, a little bit more of a power pitcher, but interesting. And I like what you guys are saying about the run rule. I'd prefer Parker Coyle just throw your three pitches, get your 3 outs, and let's score 8 runs and let's call this a day. Although that would probably take longer than it would to just play 3 innings. Or I guess 2 innings left at this point. Oh, Parker Coyle. By the way, Parker Coyle, did y'all know Parker Coyle is kind of a friend of Inside Arkansas? And believe it or not, it's not even because of me or the Baumbastic podcast. In fact, I'd met Parker Coyle the other day for the first time. He didn't know who the hell I was, which bruised the ego a little bit. But, I'll just leave it at that. He's a friend of Inside Arkansas, and it's not through me, and it's not through John, and it's not through Curtis, and it's not through Cameron. So just do the math and figure that one out. But okay. Top of the 8th, Coyle on the mound. The one thing I do appreciate about Parker Coyle, hey, Carson Brumball's in the game. Playing third base. I'm not listening to the broadcast. I'm now wondering because Kojal was the guy who slid right into that catcher. I'm wondering if he maybe he looks fine. Never mind. I was gonna say, oh man, I'm worried if that means that something happened with Kojal. Now he looks fine. But anyways, so Carson Brumball's over there playing third base. They moved Pompey to short. Is that what they showed Pompey? And I really didn't think anything of it, but I guess I could just look at stat broadcast and figure this out. Yeah, Pompey's playing short. Brumball's playing third. So, okay. I like that. Strike 3. The Hogs are 5 outs away from a must-win game victory. That's what I'm going to do. When Arkansas wins this game, I'm going to be like, wow, must-win game, and Arkansas came through. That'll shut the haters up, huh? You guys are a good bunch, man. Seriously though, before we run out of time, which with Parker Coyle on the bump, man, this game might be over quick. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. I would say this has been, we'll see how it finishes up, knock on wood. I would say this has been maybe our most productive Baumbastic live stream of the season. That's a strike there. Oh, dude, you want to see something funny? You'll never have this opportunity again because he's a senior, but watching Parker Coyle pitch in Globe Life Field is one of the funnier things because the way it works at Globe Life is their TrackMan not only tells you the pitch speed, it guesses the pitch that you're throwing based on movement. Obviously, the machine can't know what you're actually holding in your hand because, some pitchers will hold, if they're throwing a slider, if three guys are throwing a slider, it might be three completely different grips. And so some people's pitches move a little bit differently. But typically, for the most part, these TrackMan machines can identify based on the movement what pitch you're throwing. When Parker Coyle throws, that machine just like malfunctions. He'll throw 4 straight pitches, 85, and it'll all be the same pitch, but it'll be like changeup, cutter, 4-seam fastball, 2-seam fastball, sinker. It's like it'll just be like the same pitch that he's throwing. And I think it's that cutter, but they have no idea what the hell he's throwing. It's pretty funny. And he's got 2 quick outs here. Although Damian Ruiz did make that fly out, it look a little interesting there. There's Brumbaugh. Of course, he makes a freaking throwing error. First inning in a month, and he makes a throwing error. Just kind of rushed this one a little bit. Now to think about it, this might be the first time he's played third all season. He played some third in the offseason. Leading up, they had him and Pompey kind of rotating a little bit. Yeah, he had more time than he realized. I don't know. A little bit upsetting, but whatever. We move on. First error of the day for Arkansas. They've been playing great defense so far. But okay, David says, Andrew, how many games does Arkansas need to win to get to host a regional, or do we need to win the SEC tournament to host both a regional and a super? Hosting a super is probably going to have to come through weird, like you would have to take some weird circumstance where you win a regional and someone else that wasn't supposed to win a regional wins the regional. Like it would take something weird like that. Ooh, it's close play, but 3 outs for Arkansas now, so we're heading to the bottom of the 8th. Hosting a super, Arkansas is not going to be a national seed. I think even if they won out, they might not be in a national seed. Like genuinely, if they went 9-0, actually, that's a lie. If they won out, they might be a national seed, but even then, it wouldn't be a guarantee. I think Arkansas would probably need to, at minimum, go 6-3 down the stretch and probably 7-2 in these SEC games to have a chance, like a real chance to host. I think getting to 18-12 in SEC play would give them a real chance. Now, they were 18-12 in 2022, but their RPI was way worse because that was the year that I was just referencing where they played a bunch of weird midweek games and their non-conference RPI was horrible, and it just didn't work out that way. Their RPI is not great. They're like barely top 30 in RPI right now. But if Arkansas went 6-3, 7-2 down the stretch, they would have a top 20 RPI. They would be in a very good spot. So I would say 7-2, and then maybe even a couple wins in Hoover would probably get you a host situation. And so I say we go for that. Michael Scarn, I love that name. He says, Andrew, do you think Cahillo is unhappy at Arkansas? I know Vahiva is gone, but he doesn't seem to be enjoying baseball as much this year. I would say no. I would push back against this slightly, only because I think he's probably not as happy because he hasn't had success. I think it really might be that simple of like, hey, when you're swinging it well and you're driving in 70 runs and you're hitting in the middle of the order and you're like this pleasant surprise, because we didn't really have high expectations. When they picked up Cahillo, I actually remember doing a Baumbastic episode. It was back actually in the Natty State days. But I remember doing a Baumbastic episode when Cahillo committed, and I was like being nice, but I remember in that moment thinking he's not going to freaking play. Like they're just bringing him in because he's Vahiva's brother and they're doing him a solid. And I think I even said in the episode, this could maybe be a pinch hit option off the bench or whatever. So I think it was like, he went into his sophomore year, nobody expected anything out of him, and he was the unexpected hero who was, everyone loved. And so it kind of seemed like, oh yeah, he's just having the time of his life. This is great. He's with his brother. And I think this year his frustration is more with the way he's played and with the way it's played out. And by the way, I don't think he's like mad at the coaching staff for not playing him. I think he understands. You go over 4 with 4 strikeouts and you leave runners on base, like, that's the way it works. In fact, I've heard from some other players and their families on the team that Cahillo is actually like a dude, like everyone loves being around him. He's been super cool. He's been like welcoming to the freshmen. He'll like take guys under his wing. He'll take guys out to dinner. Like he seems to be a guy that everybody likes to be around. And listen, that could just be, people being nice and saying nice things about him. But I don't get the sense that he's like, even though this year has been very frustrating for him, for the team, for all of us. I mean, we're all frustrated. I don't think he's like mad about his situation. Like, I don't think he's like mad at Arkansas or even mad at the coaching staff, honestly. But that's just my opinion. Who knows? There may be someone that has a different source that says, hey, what? I actually think he hates everybody. That could be the case. But I think he's very frustrated with the way he's played more so than anything else. And then Hayden says, I miss when we had absolute units like Casey Murphy, Evan Taylor, and Mason Molina on the bump. Can I interest you in a young man by the name of Hunter Dietz? Does that interest you at all? Because I would say that guy's a unit. I would also say Ethan McIlvain is quite the unit. By the way, TJ Pompey hit an absolute missile up the middle for a base hit. And then Carter Rudenbar followed with a double in the gap. I didn't know that ball was going to get down. I couldn't tell, based on the angle, if I was going to hang up or not. But so Arkansas's got they're in business now. Got runners on second and third, breaking ball, outer edge. Just a good piece of hitting. Carter Rudenbar is a stud, man. Everyone always makes the jokes about like when a freshman comes in or a transfer comes in and they're swinging it well, and they'll be like, "Don't let Nate Thompson talk to this kid," or whatever. Like, and it's usually in good fun. I kind of like actually feel that way about Carter Rudenbar, where I'm like, nobody talk to him. Just let him do his thing. Oh, Zach Stewart's off the bench. Who's he hitting for here? This would be for Brumbaugh. He's pinch hitting for Brumbaugh. Damn, I kind of would have liked to see Brumbaugh get an AB. I mean, I'm okay with Zach Stewart getting an AB. I like Zach Stewart, but damn, yeah, we couldn't let Brumbaugh swing the bat. He hadn't swung the bat in 2 months. I guess when he made the error, it was probably like probably the time where they were like, "Hey, yeah, let's go ahead and take him out of there." But whatever. Why are they showing a replay of the slide? Did something happen on that? Stewart punches out, by the way. For y'all that are listening, if anyone's listening to the broadcast, which it's crazy how much that's been a theme of this, did something weird happen on that slide? Okay, so now Helfrich's back up. Yeah, Helfrich's got to drive in a run here. Had a frustrating day at the plate, which he's allowed to have. If there's anybody on this team that's earned the right to have an off day, it's Ryder Helfrich, I would say. Man. Dude, Ryder is going to be a very rich guy this summer. Very rich man. All righty. Base hit for Ryder. Man, they do not respect that left fielder. So wait, hold on. What happened there? Was he out of the plate? I kind of low-key thought he was out. Sheesh. But I'll take it. So it's a 6-2 game, it appears. Base hit through the left side. Oh, it's because he's once again blocking home plate without the ball. He's sitting right in the base path. Good on the umpire, because we just talked about it. I feel like he let it slide the last time because the play ended up not mattering. So it was like he was going to score either way. When you do it and you get the guy out, it's like, yeah, you can't post up right in the middle of the of the base path without the ball, buddy. You can't do that one. Also, Anna says that Bubba said he was limping and it was probably precautionary. I'm assuming this is about Kojal. If so, that makes sense. Which I'm okay with as long as it's precautionary. Well, what's weird about this is like he was blocking the plate, but from like 8 feet away. Like he was up the baseline. Are they reviewing now whether or not this was interference? Next time, Rudenbar should just jump. Jump clean over the guy. So I guess they're challenging whether or not it was obstruction. Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say. Call overturned. So they say no obstruction here. So does that mean he's out at home plate? So it's a 5-2 game? Okay. So still a save situation for the time being. Now Dave's like, hey, let's review this. I guess they determined, they were like, hey, he was so far away from home plate. He was in the baseline, but he wasn't at home plate. He technically wasn't blocking home plate. I guess my thing is, what is Rutenbar supposed to do in that situation? I guess he's supposed to. Honestly, it probably would have helped if Rutenbar had just run smack into him, because then he would have been no question about it. Because he was in the base path right there. So if Rutenbar runs right through him, there would have been no debate to be had here. Although I'm sure that would have probably caused a benches clearing brawl. Y'all know a fun fact. When I was a freshman in high school, there was a benches clearing brawl. The first day that I ever got to wear a jersey with the varsity squad, I was so excited. There was a freaking benches clearing brawl on a play like that and our guy was 100% in the wrong. The catcher had the ball and was like waiting to tag him. And we had a middle linebacker who decided he was just going to spear him and speared him. And so the benches cleared. And I did the little move where I'm like the last guy to leave the bench because I was like, I'm not about to go fight for this guy's honor as a freshman. And I remember that was a good one. He had to like watch a bunch of videos from the LHSAA to be like sportsmanship and, guidelines and all that. Pretty funny stuff. John Pigman says, met 2/3 of the IA members just need Andrew. Have only seen Andrew in traffic. That's interesting. Where have you seen me in traffic? Did the Baumbastic sticker give it away? But where'd you meet John at? I feel like if you're up here, like it can't be that hard to find me, Hell, just find me at Baum this weekend. Definitely do that because I'm a huge John Pigman guy, so I feel like I should have been the first one you met. All righty. A walk for Ruiz. That would be funny if Arkansas ended up run ruling these dudes. They going back to the pen, eh? Yeah. Bringing in Jacob LeBlanc. That's a Louisiana name right there, LeBlanc. LeBlancs, Abears, Herberts. Okay. You guys having fun yet? Are y'all only going to be having fun if Arkansas winds up winning this game? I'm glad the way this is played out, you know. It's going to end up being like, knock on wood, like right around a 3-hour game, and nothing too crazy. Ideally a win. The vibes have been mostly good. I do feel bad for the guy from El Dorado driving up. That is a tough one. I really do genuinely. Like I know we all like to make fun of everybody, but that is a tough one. El Dorado, one, having to live in El Dorado is tough. It's a tough place to live. But then to drive up, I mean, that's like a 4.5-hour drive, maybe 5-hour drive, maybe even more than that. That's a tough drive. And to get up here, and they canceled the game like 70 minutes before first pitch. So that's a tough one. But other than that, we've had a great time here. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. I see my guy Hazelwood in the chat. Hell yeah. A lot of my faves in the chat. That's really been what it is. Like a lot of the people who I like of our listeners have been in the chat. Where's Ryan at? Has Ryan not been participating? Was he in here? I feel like he was in here earlier at one point. I know why Ryan's not in here because they started winning. I saw him in here when they were struggling a little bit. Jacob LeBlanc from Central Louisiana. I wonder if that's like Central Baton Rouge or like Central because I'm from Central Louisiana. Where is Central Louisiana? Let me figure this out. And yes, Jeremy, Kojal hurt as a stretch, but according to Anna, she says that he was just like a precautionary, came up limping after he slid into home plate. And so it's kind of just a precautionary thing. Yeah, where the hell is Central Louisiana? Yeah, it's down by Baton Rouge. Okay. All righty. Nolan Souza's up at the plate. 2 outs. Not 1 out because allegedly the throw brought him into the baseline. Yeah, sure, Lindsay. We'll go with that. We'll go with that for sure. I really do. Most people, most of our listeners, honestly, I'm cool with. The only ones that get me are the ones that like come into the chat specifically to troll, you know? I can deal with you just being wrong, you know? I feel like Ryan's actually a great example of this. Like even Ryan, I like and respect Ryan because it's like he's just wrong, but he's not like, you know, mean-spirited or he's not coming in here like trying to make our lives miserable. He's just wrong about everything. That's different, you know? And Peyton wants to know is BR the worst part of Louisiana? I will say, I mean, I personally am in the camp that believes that New Orleans is a little bit overrated. Now, if you're on a bachelor trip or if you're like, you know, having one fun weekend, you know, New Orleans can be good. But like in general, New Orleans is like hard. It's hard to like really consistently have good, safe fun there. But BR's tough, dude. I feel like BR is one of the worst college towns in America. Now, I've had a lot of fun in Baton Rouge with some buddies that went to LSU. Like, we had a good time, but it wasn't because of Baton Rouge. It was because of, you know, we just found a house to hang out at. BR is a nasty place. Bad things happen on that campus for sure. But I don't know. There's some tough parts. I feel like all of North Louisiana. Like, my parents live in Monroe. Monroe is not a good place. It's yucky up there. I feel like North Louisiana and South Arkansas, it's all just kind of the same sticks and no cell service and not a ton going on there. And then South Louisiana is kind of cool, and North Arkansas is cool. All right, Souza flies out to center, and we head to the ninth inning. All righty, boys. So if you have anything crazy to get off your chest, now would be the time to do it. We are in the final inning, and I've had a great time. I really have. I'm surprised by how much fun I've had here. It's been good. And then Peyton says, my wife and I love Uptown, so New Orleans is up there for us. Garden District is great. Definitely don't like the tourist stuff, though. Yeah, so one of my best friends, my like genuine, like my childhood best friend, he lived in New Orleans for a while, like right off Bourbon, and he had a good time. But it can be a little bit tough. You can't honk at anybody in New Orleans, man. If you get into it, if someone cuts you off in traffic in New Orleans, you just have to respect it. You can't. You better not honk your horn, or else that dude's coming out of the car and he's probably coming out with something. It's a tough place, man. But it can, and like obviously with certain events like Mardi Gras, it's great to be down there during Mardi Gras, even though it's crazy. That's like a once in a lifetime type of thing. But there are some parts of New Orleans are like absolutely beautiful. I mean, even Monroe, I was just talking bad about Monroe. If you get on the water there and there's like these little restaurants on the river, it's actually pretty cool. But just like anything in life, any place in the world, there's like bad areas that you maybe want to avoid, but then some, cool spots there. But it's weird because like I grew up in dead central Louisiana. We were about 3.5 hours from New Orleans. So like you'd think that, if you grew up in Louisiana, oh, you go to New Orleans all the time. Like, it's not on the way to anything because you're literally it's quite literally underwater. The city is below sea level, and it's 3.5 hours away from where I was at in central Louisiana. So it wasn't like one of those every day, every weekend spots. Lafayette's pretty fun. I like Lafayette. It's a good little middle ground there. That's where them Cajuns are. By the way, Ethan McElvain is coming out to throw. So Arkansas not messing around in this game. I mean, you go to your closer in a save situation, not crazy. Ideally it would be just a 15 pitch inning right here so that he's all ready to go for the weekend, but kind of tells you a little bit about how this coaching staff feels about their pitching staff, that even in a midweek game, even on a Wednesday afternoon against Northwestern State, now obviously if it were 14-2, they'd maybe feel a little bit different. Like, they don't really mess around too much. And so, we were talking about some of these younger pitchers, and it's like, oh man, why won't they get this guy in? Why won't they get this guy in? If you're not in that circle of trust, man, you're not pitching, and they know they can count on Coyle. They know they can count on McElvain. They know they can count on Eves. It looks like Luke Cornelison is now playing third base. So we're just all over the place today. Dang, man. So they're really done with Brumball. That's a swing. Where are we at in the lineup for these cats? We are at the 5, 6, 7 spots of the lineup, so pretty much lower middle. Good pitch. Yeah, Hayden was looking for some units on the mound. Ethan McElvain is definitely that. 6'4", 250. Dude, one of my favorite moments of the year. So obviously McElvain came from Vanderbilt. Him and Kojal. Oh, look, Cornelison gets a ball hit right to him, and he makes the play. Good for him. Cornelison, by the way, that's another young pitcher who, he's playing third base right now. He can throw. He could pitch, man. I hope they're able to keep him around. I want to see what he can do on the mound. But one of my favorite moments of the year was when McElvain was asked about his facial hair, and they were like, "What went into the decision to make that happen?" And he goes, "Well, once I transferred here, and now I'm allowed to have facial hair." throwing a little slick shot at Vanderbilt because they don't let him do anything, man. No fun to be had over there under Tim Corbin. But I think Kojal and McElvain both have really appreciated being able to come to Arkansas and not have to be as buttoned up. You can go fishing, you can have a Fu Manchu, you can do whatever you want to do. I think they like that a little bit. Yeah, Jazz Fest is cool. I've never been to Jazz Fest, but by all accounts, it is the coolest thing you can do. And that's where New Orleans is cool for if there's a specific thing going on, like a Mardi Gras, if there's a big game at the Superdome, or Arkansas playing the Sugar Bowl there back in the day, something like that. It can be really cool for that. it's not cool to just like live there or to like be there on just a random weekend, in my humble opinion. But now, that's where that's my favorite thing about Louisiana. And like when I was growing up, I actually used to like resent being from Louisiana a little bit because I just wanted to be in Arkansas. But the one thing my favorite part about growing up in Louisiana was the food for sure. The crawfish, the gumbo, the boudin, the jambalaya, all of it, man. All of it. The cracklins. I know about cracklins. I mean, we're playing NSU. I have a buddy that used to stop every single time he would drive through Natchitoches. Every single time he would stop at the same gas station and get boudin balls every time. All righty, so down to their final out now. Ethan McIlvain gets a punch out. Yeah, he's only thrown 8 pitches here too, so. There's a strike. Hey, there's Ryan. He says, home from work finally. Don't know how I can enjoy watching this team anymore. Frustration level is off the charts. Well, they're going to win this game, most likely. I mean, they're down to their final out here. Down to the final strike now. What, you don't like winning, Ryan? You don't like winning? If they win this weekend, will that if they win this weekend, that would be huge. I mean, Ole Miss is the best team they have left. You win 2 games this weekend, we're right back on it, man. We're right back in that hosting picture. The Natty is right back in our grasp. Oh, there's a base hit. Yeah, maybe don't throw the 0-2 pitch down the middle. All right, it's got the 8-hole coming up. Yeah, I'd like for this game to get over with quickly for his pitch count purposes. Keep it under 20. Under 20 would be the sweet spot. Because I really don't want to be in a situation where it's Friday night, Arkansas's got like a 4-3 lead, and we're sitting there being like, yeah, but McIlvain threw 34 pitches on Wednesday. I don't know if we can make it work. All right, foul ball. Let's see. Dodger fan here says, Dave likes when the pitcher give up 0-2 hits. Yeah, he loves it. I'm sure that's what Matt Hobbs was calling. He was like, hey, let's go fastball, just like middle. See if we can sneak one by him. McIlvain's going to make a lot of money this summer, I would imagine, as well. Left-handed, big old donkey throwing 96. And he was a big time draft guy even coming into the year. Like even before he's pitched as well as he has at Arkansas. Stuff's there, man. All righty, down to the final strike again. All right, we're going 3-2. Runner will get a head start. You want to clap it up? They're clapping it up in the stadium. Oof. Line drive right to Pompey at short. Okay, ball game. Hogs win 5-2. We did this in like almost exactly 3 hours. Love to see that. It's 6 p.m. You guys go get you a great dinner, a celebratory dinner, and we'll be back on the Baumbastic podcast tomorrow. Me and Cameron got some content for you guys. We're going to give you a little preview of what to expect from the Ole Miss series, and then we're right back on the horse. Massive series at Baum Walker this weekend. So either go out to Baum Walker, get you a ticket. There's plenty available, unfortunately. And if not, we'll have the coverage for you here on the Baumbastic podcast. So appreciate you guys for kicking it with me on this stream. This is a lot of fun. Have a great night. Woo Pig as always. And hope you enjoyed another award-winning edition of the Baumbastic podcast. Have a great night, everyone.